Chapter 295. When Lu Ming saw Lu Yuntian again, it was in an extremely secretive side hall of the general hall. Now Lu Yuntian had changed into a new robe, shaved off his beard and combed his hair neatly. A pair of sword-like eyebrows reached his temples and he looked extraordinarily handsome. When Lu Yuntian was young he was a rare handsome man. However, there was a hideous scar above his nose that extended all the way to his lips, destroying his beauty. However, Lu Yuntian did not care at all. He only looked at Lu Ming in a daze, carefully sizing him up. "Ming, are you finally grown up and become a world-renowned genius? As expected of my son, ha." After a while, Lu Yuntian laughed heartily and was very satisfied. During this period of time, Wuxia had told him all about Lu Ming's achievements. When he heard that Lu Ming had achieved such an achievement, he was extremely excited and gratified. However, Lu Ming's nose was sour and tears welled up in his eyes. He said in a trembling voice, "Father, who did it? Who did it? I will definitely make him pay 10 times the price." He had already checked Lu Yuntian's body in detail just now. Other than the scar on his face, Lu Yuntian's internal injuries were even more serious. Every inch of his meridians were broken and there was not a single part of his body that was intact. In such a situation, not to mention cultivation, he was even worse than an ordinary person. It was hard to imagine what kind of suffering Lu Yuntian had suffered all these years. Lu Ming felt a terrifying murderous intent in his chest that was about to explode. Lu Yuntian pondered for a moment and said, "Ming, I'll say it again. Don't be rash. Before you have absolute strength, don't let your emotions affect your decisions." "Father, don't worry. Ming knows," Lu Ming said, but his fists were tightly clenched together. "All right, I'll tell you. All of this was done by Qiu Changkong." Lu Yuntian sighed. "Qiu Changkong, it's really him." Lu Ming growled and said, "Why? Father, why did Qiu Changkong do this to you?" "Because of the martial emperor's treasure." Lu Yuntian said, "Back then Qiu Changkong wasn't the leader of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire, but he was already a famous young genius. I don't know why, but he knew that I had the martial emperor's treasure, so he secretly sent people to capture me. All these years he has been interrogating me, trying to get information about the martial emperor's treasure from me. He's dreaming, how could I tell him? It's just a waste of effort. Qiu Changkong, I will make him pay a painful price." Lu Ming muttered in a low voice. His voice was incomparably cold as he continued, "The martial emperor's treasure? Why is he so certain that father knows about the martial emperor's treasure?" "I do know about the martial emperor's treasure." Lu Yuntian smiled. "What?" Lu Ming was shocked. "Haha, I only found out about the martial emperor's treasure by accident. However, I was already prepared for it. I have already left the information regarding the martial emperor's treasure to you." Lu Yuntian smiled. "Left for me?" Lu Ming was a little stunned. "Could it be that bronze pendant?" Lu Ming asked. "No." Lu Yuntian smiled and said, "I only found the bronze pendant by accident. I thought it was quite interesting, so I kept it with me and left it for you. The information regarding the martial emperor's treasure is actually inside the Heavenly Star Sword." "The Heavenly Star Sword?" Lu Ming was startled. Following this, the Heavenly Star Sword appeared in his hand. Lu Yuntian was overjoyed. He received the Heavenly Star Sword and inspected it carefully. He then passed it to Lu Ming and said, "Ming, you're right. The information regarding the martial emperor's treasure is sealed inside the Heavenly Star Sword. There is a key to opening the martial emperor's treasure and a map inside the Heavenly Star Sword. You can ask an inscriber to retrieve it later. When your cultivation has reached a certain level, you can head to the martial emperor's treasure and obtain a great fortunate encounter. It's inside the Heavenly Star Sword." Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. "Ming, how has your mother been all these years?" At that instant, Lu Yuntian asked with a trembling voice. "Father, mother is fine, but she has been thinking about you all these years." Lu Ming said. "That's good. I've let her down all these years." Lu Yuntian sighed. "Father, don't worry. The imperial family has already secretly sent someone to pick up mother. Soon our family will be reunited," Lu Ming said. Lu Yuntian's eyes were filled with anticipation. "Father, don't worry. Even if I have to travel thousands of mountains and rivers, I will find the elixir to heal your injuries and allow you to embark on the path of cultivation again," Lu Ming said firmly. "Ming, it's good that you have such intentions. However, it's easier said than done to heal my injuries. There's no need to force yourself." Lu Yuntian sighed. Many years had passed since his injuries. His meridians were all broken. It would be extremely difficult to heal them. He no longer had any hope. He was already satisfied to be able to see Lu Ming and Li Ping while he was still alive. However, Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. The divine wilderness continent was as vast and boundless as smoke. There was no lack of all kinds of treasures. Legend had it that some treasures could even allow a person to regrow their severed limbs and bring the dead back to life. As long as he could obtain such treasures, it would be a piece of cake to heal Lu Yunqian's meridians and remove the scars on his face. No matter how difficult it is, I must get it. Lu Ming swore to himself. After that, he had a long talk with Lu Yuntian. After chatting for a few hours, Lu Ming left the place. Regardless of whether he wanted to avenge Lu Yuntian or heal Lu Yuntian's injuries, he couldn't do so without a strong cultivation base. He had to keep cultivating. Qiu Changkong, you and I will fight to the death. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with murderous intent. After returning to his room, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and carefully thought about the direction of his cultivation. Currently, he had a few main directions for his cultivation. The first was the breakthrough of the true dragon of battle art. He had obtained the Jiao Dragon Bone Pearl from Xian Yanqing. As long as he could obtain a supplementary material called the Cold Spirit Liquid, he would be able to break through to the 5th level of the true dragon of battle art and possess 6 times the strength of ordinary true qi. The second was the cultivation of the myriad spirit battle body. As long as his physical body reached the 4th grade, he would be able to cultivate the divine martial technique, the 9 dragons heaven stomping steps. Alright, let's go and buy a portion of the cold spirit liquid. Lu Ming stood up and walked towards the market of the imperial capital. The cold spirit liquid was only a supplementary material and was not particularly rare. After walking around the market, Lu Ming successfully bought a portion. After returning to the Star General Hall and entering the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming took out the Jiao Dragon Bone Pearl and the cold spirit liquid and started cultivating. First, he refined the Jiao Dragon Bone Pearl and mixed it with the cold spirit liquid. Half a day later, he successfully broke through to the 5th level of the true dragon of battle art. Surging true qi flowed through his meridians. It was vast and boundless. Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a large margin. If I can cultivate the true dragon of battle art to the 9th level, I will have 10 times the true qi. How powerful will that be? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. He hoped that he could cultivate the true dragon of battle art to the 9th level as soon as possible. With 10 times the true qi, Lu Ming would be invincible among those of the same level, unless his opponent also cultivated a divine martial technique. Now let's do an inventory. Lu Ming let out a long breath and waved his hand. A pile of storage rings appeared on the ground. Chapter 296. Although he didn't kill many people in the ruins of Emperor Yun's palace, his opponents had killed many people. Which one of the people he killed didn't have a few lives on their hands? Therefore he sorted out the storage rings and there were more than 200 of them. Most of the storage rings belonged to young geniuses in the 8th or 9th realm of the martial master realm, but there were also dozens of storage rings belonging to martial grandmasters. There were even storage rings belonging to peerless geniuses like Qiu Changlai, Blood Zhao and Supernova Zhao Hong. Lu Ming was looking forward to the wealth in the storage rings. He wouldn't have known if he hadn't seen it. Even though Lu Ming was mentally prepared, he was still dumbfounded. Spiritual crystals. Mountains of spiritual crystals. One storage ring wouldn't be able to store all of them. There were a total of 55,560,000 spiritual crystals. More than 50 million? What kind of terrifying number was this? Lu Ming was in a daze. Holding back his ecstasy, Lu Ming put away the spiritual crystals in several storage rings and looked at other things. There were more than 4,000 spiritual weapons. There were more than 12,000 spiritual herbs and spiritual herbs. However, most of them were not very advanced. Only a few of them had reached LV4. There were also more than 200 cultivation methods and martial techniques. There were also various refining materials piled up like mountains. Lu Ming was rich. He was rich. Apart from the 5 top sects in the royal family, the other small forces in the Burning Sun Empire wouldn't have so much wealth even if they sold all their assets. Lu Ming sighed. Half an hour later, Lu Ming put all the items into his storage ring and put them away. Afterward, with a move, the 10,000 Spirit Battle Body Manual appeared in Lu Ming's hands. Lu Ming flipped it open and studied it carefully. An hour later, Lu Ming closed the storage ring. The 10,000 Spirit Battle Body is so terrifying and mysterious. Lu Ming was amazed. The 10,000-mile battle body refined all the spirits in the world and merged them into the body to improve the strength of the body. All living things, as long as they had spirituality in the world, were fine. For example, all kinds of spiritual herbs, or all kinds of metal materials and ores that contain spiritual essence could be refined into the all-spirits chi to cultivate the physical body. It was to the extent where even living creatures could do it. It could be said to be terrifying. As expected of a technique that can cultivate one's physical body to the 9th tier. How domineering! Lu Ming exclaimed in surprise and excitement. After that, Lu Ming closed his eyes and began to comprehend. For 3 days in a row, Lu Ming was comprehending the myriad spirit battle body. Tens of thousands of miles away from the imperial capital, there was an endless stretch of mountains that resembled a fairyland. This was the location of the omnidirectional sword sect, the omnidirectional mountain. More than a dozen people sat in a large hall at the highest point of 10 Directions Mountain. Every single one of them was just casually sitting there, yet they were emitting an aura that was as vast as the mountains and seas. It was vast and unfathomable. The sect master of 10 Directions Sword Sect, Qiu Weiyang, sat at the highest point, his face extremely gloomy. The atmosphere in the hall was extremely stifling. Bam! Suddenly, a cold-faced old man slammed the table heavily and said loudly, "Tingyun, that brat deserves to die. How dare he kill a peerless talent of our omnidirectional sword sect? Sect master, please allow me to personally kill Tianyun." "That's not right." Another voice sounded. Tianyun and Changlai were having a life-and-death battle. Countless people in the imperial capital saw it. "If we kill Tianyun like this, I'm afraid we'll incur the wrath of the martial arts world. Then we can send assassins to assassinate him." The cold-faced old man said. "Tianyun's matter is small. Our plan is more important. I don't think we should let a single Tianyun affect our plan," the first person said again. The hall fell into silence again. After a while, Qiu Weiyang said, "Let's act according to our plan first. As long as everything goes smoothly, Tianyun won't be able to escape death. After killing a talent of our omnidirectional sword sect, he can't possibly live in this world. But let's put it aside for now. Now let's discuss the details of this matter." No one objected to Qiu Weiyang's words. Next, they began to discuss an important matter. In the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming had been comprehending the myriad spirit battle body for 3 days. 3 days later he opened his eyes. With a wave of his hand, a second-grade spiritual herb appeared in his hand. "Refine," Lu Ming said softly. Following which, the vital energy in his body vibrated mysteriously according to the 10,000 spirit battle body. A gush of dense qi emanated from Lu Ming's palm and enveloped the spiritual herb. In a few breaths, the spiritual herb disappeared and was refined into a strange qi that entered Lu Ming's body. This was the myriad spirit qi. As soon as the myriad spirit qi entered Lu Ming's body, it seeped into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming could clearly feel that his physical body was becoming stronger. Although the increase was small, it was indeed becoming stronger. It was many times faster than ordinary physical body cultivation techniques. Amazing, this is amazing. Lu Ming was amazed and his eyes were filled with excitement. Then he took out another third-grade spiritual herb and began to transform it into the myriad spirit qi to enhance his physical body. In the next 3 days, Lu Ming continued to refine spiritual herbs to enhance his physical body. In these 3 days he had refined no less than 200 spiritual herbs. Finally, his physical body broke through the limit and reached the 4th-grade physical body. The 4th-grade physical body was amazing. Lu Ming could change his muscles, bones and body shape at will. When he was injured, his muscles would squirm automatically to seal the wound and heal it quickly. His muscles were like steel wires, his bones were like steel and his veins were wide and elastic. Lu Ming could unleash his strength without restraint. This was a great improvement to his combat strength. Now that my physical body has reached the 4th grade, I can finally start cultivating the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps. Lu Ming could not wait to take out the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps and start comprehending it. The pressure from the secret manual was no longer a problem for Lu Ming. But after a while he closed the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps and frowned. Because he was completely confused, he did not know where to start. It was too difficult to cultivate a divine-level martial technique. A divine-level martial technique was completely different from the heaven, earth, black and yellow-level martial techniques. A divine-level martial technique was not divided into a 1st grade, a 2nd grade and so on. A divine-level martial technique was very special. Every type was unique between heaven and earth. There would be various differences and it was difficult to explain. Take the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps as an example. The 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps had a total of 9 steps. With each step completed, the power would be stronger and stronger. With each step, the power would be stacked. If the 9 steps were completed, the power would be stacked and could crush mountains and break the sky. The power would be extremely terrifying. As long as the first step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was completed, the full power of the first step would be unleashed. At the same time as the cultivation increased, the power would be stronger. Unfortunately, it was too difficult to cultivate. Lu Ming tried to comprehend it for a while but had no clue. It seems that I have to take my time to comprehend it. As long as I put in more effort, I don't believe that I can't cultivate it successfully. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and thought to himself. Next, after comprehending the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps for a while, he started cultivating the myriad spirit battle body. He had countless spiritual herbs and spiritual medicine with him. He was not worried about not having enough spiritual herbs to cultivate. Chapter 297. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been in seclusion for a month. In the past month, his body had improved the fastest. After using a total of 3,000 different types of spiritual herbs, Lu Ming's physical body reached 5th grade in one go. However, after reaching grade 5, the effects of grade 1 and grade 2 spiritual herbs were very poor. Only grade 3 spiritual herbs were effective. Grade 4 spiritual herbs were even better. However, Lu Ming did not have many grade 4 spiritual herbs. There were still more than 8,000 stalks of spirit herbs on Lu Ming's body. However, he had a feeling that even if he refined all of them, he would not be able to cultivate his physical body to a 6th grade. The higher the level of the body, the more energy it would require. Moreover, after reaching the martial grandmaster realm, his comprehension of martial skills would be much faster. After a month of hard work and constant battles with himself, Lu Ming's martial skills had improved tremendously. He had reached the 6th level of the ancient shield technique and could form 6 ancient shields at once. His defense had greatly increased. As for the 3-path palms, he had mastered the 2nd palm, the beast path palm. When he threw out a palm, a giant beast palm was thrown out. Its power was much stronger than the human path palm. The reason why he could improve so quickly was because of the 3rd platform. Of course, he had paid over 600,000 spiritual crystals for it. Given Lu Ming's 2nd-level martial grandmaster cultivation, he would need a total of 10,000 spirit crystals each time he wanted to condense a figure that was exactly the same as him. He could last for 6 hours each time. The consumption was shocking. If Lu Ming did not have over 50 million spiritual crystals, he would not be able to afford it. At this moment, Lu Ming's strength had reached its peak. Although his cultivation was still at the early stage of martial grandmaster realm 2nd level, he could kill Qiu Changlai with one move. On the other hand, Li Ping had arrived at the imperial capital half a month ago and met Lu Yuntian. When they met, they were very affectionate. They stayed together every day and did not want to be separated. During this time, Xian Yinqing had been cultivating in seclusion. As for the golden-eyed blood zombie, Lu Ming ordered it to lie dormant in one place and not move. On this day, Hua Qi hurriedly found Lu Ming and brought a piece of shocking news. The Yin Moon Empire sent out millions of soldiers to attack the Burning Sun Empire. The Ghost Moon Saber sect in the north had already requested help from the Blazing Sun Empire. The 2 armies of the royal family at the northern border also requested help from the royal family. For a moment, the Burning Sun Empire was shocked. Although the Dark Moon Empire and the Burning Sun Empire had been in constant conflict, it was rare for the Dark Moon Empire to send an army of 1 million to attack the Burning Sun Empire. Lu Ming, this time the imperial family will send out an elite army, as well as some young experts that the imperial family has been secretly cultivating to the north. On the one hand, it will promote the imperial family's prestige, and on the other hand, it will train these young experts. However, you also know that all geniuses are arrogant and unruly. No one is willing to submit to another. Father wants to choose someone to be the commander of this army and subdue these young experts at the same time. But after thinking about it, only you are suitable. Hua Qi said to Lu Ming. Meh. Lu Ming was surprised. Yes, there is no one more suitable than you. To tell you the truth, some of these young experts are geniuses from the Star Cluster Palace, while others are peerless geniuses that the imperial family has secretly recruited. They were sent to the Great Sun Palace in the Blood Zhao Empire to cultivate. They are all arrogant and ordinary people can't subdue them. Hua Qi explained with a bitter smile. However, father said that he won't force you. If you don't want to go, he will find someone else. Hua Qi said. Go, why not? Lu Ming smiled. After being in seclusion for so long, he wanted to go out and temper himself. The battlefield was undoubtedly the best place to temper himself. Lu Ming, you agree? That's great. I will go back and report to father. If there are no accidents, we will depart in 2 days. Hua Qi was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded. Then Hua Qi bid farewell and left. I will also go and say goodbye to father and mother. Then Lu Ming went to Lu Yuntian's residence. After hearing the news, Lu Yuntian and Li Ping did not object. A cultivator must go through a series of life and death situations to reach the peak. Ming, go ahead. Lu Yuntian was very supportive. In the past, Lu Yuntian was a member of the Lu family, but in order to pursue the martial Dao, he often went out to explore and accidentally discovered the secret of the martial emperor's treasure. Ming, the battlefield is very dangerous, you must be careful. Although Li Ping did not object, she was still worried and warned seriously. Father, mother, don't worry. Ming will be fine. Lu Ming smiled and assured his parents. Very quickly 2 days passed. 2 days later, Lu Ming brought the golden eye blood zombie to the martial field of the Star General Hall. The army was gathered here today. Lu Ming, don't think of leaving me. Xian Yinqing appeared beside Lu Ming. Xiaoqing, what's wrong? You can't bear to leave me? Lu Ming chuckled. Who can't bear to leave you? I'm afraid that you'll run away or die on the battlefield. Who can I find to settle the score with? How can I trample you under my feet? Xian Yinqing snorted coldly. Haha, then come with me. But I heard that it's cold in the north. You have to warm my bed at night. Lu Ming laughed and walked forward. Warm your head. In your dreams. Xian Yinqing's fierce voice rang out as the two walked further and further away. Rows of armored soldiers stood in front of the martial field of the Star General Hall. These soldiers were all tall and burly, exuding a powerful and murderous aura. At a glance, one could tell that they were all elite soldiers, veterans who had been baptized by the flames of war. There were a total of 20,000 soldiers. The sun shone on the armor of the 20,000 soldiers, shining with a cold light. At the top of the martial field stood dozens of people. Most of them were young men in their 20s. Each and every one of them had a strong and vigorous aura. The weakest among them was at the 9th level of the martial Grandmaster realm. There were 10 young men whose auras were as strong as mountains. They were clearly martial ancestor realm experts. Among the 10, 7 were the strongest in the Star Cluster Hall, equivalent to the gold-ranked disciples of the 5 major sections. As for the remaining 3, their auras were the strongest. As they looked around, they faintly exuded arrogance. They were the geniuses sent by the royal family to the Great Sun Palace. In the middle stood the Emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, Hua Jingxing. Beside Hua Jingxing stood Hua Qi. Your Majesty, who is our commander? Why isn't he here yet? He even made His Majesty wait here. How arrogant. A young man cultivating in the Great Sun Palace said unhappily. That's right. I think he doesn't put His Majesty in his eyes at all. In my opinion, we should just remove him from his position and let senior brother Hua Ying be the commander. Another young man cultivating in the Great Sun Palace said. The Hua Ying he was referring to was a young man in a golden robe, the last young man cultivating in the Great Sun Palace. This person was handsome and had the aura of a king. He was a member of the Hua family of the royal family, but he wasn't a direct descendant. Chapter 298. Hua Ying stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His bearing was extraordinary, and there was a hint of arrogance in his eyes. At the same time, a look of dissatisfaction appeared on his face. Originally, he thought he would be the commander this time, but he didn't expect the position to be given to someone else. This made him very unhappy. Your Majesty, I suggest that we appoint senior brother Hua Ying as the commander-in-chief. Senior brother Hua Ying is well versed in the art of war and his cultivation is profound. He will definitely be able to lead the army and win every battle. The young man from before bowed to Hua Jingxing and suggested. Win every battle? I don't know where this brat came from, but he actually wants to get his hands on the position of commander-in-chief. How laughable. Among the 7 martial arts grandmasters from the Cluster Star Hall, one of them was unconvinced and sneered. The imperial family had always been led by the Star Cluster Hall. The 7 of them were the strongest in the Star Cluster Hall. Where did those 3 brats come from? How could it be possible that he wanted the position of commander-in-chief as soon as he arrived? How could the young expert from Star Cluster Hall possibly agree? Kid, what did you say? The face of the young man who had been suggesting Hua Ying to be the commander-in-chief darkened as he looked at the people from the Star Cluster Hall. His name was Gao Li and he was very close to Hua Ying. Didn't you hear what I said? I said that he doesn't have the qualifications to be a commander-in-chief. If he wants to be a commander-in-chief, he should be a genius of my Star Cluster Palace. The person from the Star Cluster Palace continued. A genius from Star Cluster Hall? Ah, I'm dying of laughter. A few pieces of trash actually dare to call themselves geniuses? Truly laughable to the extreme. Gao Li laughed disdainfully. Who are you calling trash? Today I'll let you know how powerful I am. The young man from the Star Cluster Hall roared, his powerful aura erupting as he strode towards Gao Li. You want to fight? That's exactly what I want. Gao Li's figure flickered as he rushed toward the opponent while throwing out a punch at the same time. This punch was as powerful as a mountain, and a powerful force spread out. The young man from the Star Cluster Palace also shouted and struck out with his palm. As the fist and palm collided, the young man from the Star Cluster Hall cried out in agony as his body was sent flying like a cannonball. He crashed heavily onto the ground and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Second Martial Ancestor Realm. The young man from the Star Cluster Palace shouted. Humph, a mere first-layer Martial Ancestor Realm cultivator dares to fight me, you're courting death. Gao Li said coldly. Throughout the entire process, Hua Jingxing did not stop them. He simply watched from the sidelines. He had already expected this outcome. As long as no one died, he would not care. Now, if any of you are unconvinced, feel free to make a move. Gao Li was incomparably arrogant as he swept his gaze over everyone in the Star Cluster Hall. The faces of the people from the Star Cluster Hall turned ugly. They could not help but look at the bald young man in the middle. The bald youth was the #1 expert in the Star Cluster Hall. He had a cultivation of Martial Ancestor Realm Level 2. I'll take you on. The bald young man stepped out and stood opposite Gao Li. Boom. There was nothing more to say. A great battle erupted. It had to be said that Gao Li was indeed very powerful. Although the bald youth was at the same level as him, he was not a match for him at all. In just a dozen moves he was sent flying and coughing up blood. Humph, as expected, a bunch of trash. Still not admitting it? I can only say that you guys haven't seen the world and haven't seen the geniuses of big countries. You think that staying in a small corner of the world and having a little bit of success, you guys can be complacent? How short-sighted. How can you improve like this? Gao Li had his hands behind his back as he looked down at the people of the Star Cluster Hall, berating them with the tone of a senior lecturing a junior. Damn it! Where did these guys come from? How can they be so strong? The faces of the people from the Star Cluster Hall were flushed red as they roared in their hearts. Hee hee. Gao Li let out a disdainful sneer and said, Senior brother Huaying is many times stronger than me. Why are you guys not convinced that he is the commander-in-chief? Of course not. What right does a guy who has stayed in a big country for a while think that he is a genius and came back to show off his strength have to be the commander-in-chief? At that moment, a faint voice was heard. Who is it? Gao Li's face instantly turned ugly. Hua Ying's face also darkened. When Hua Qi heard the voice, a look of joy flashed across his face. The owner of the voice was of course Lu Ming. Lu Ming had his hands behind his back. Beside him were Xian Yanqing and the Golden Eye Blood Zombie. He walked over step by step. Kid, who are you? How dare you talk to me like that? Gao Li stared at Lu Ming with a gloomy look. Tianyun, it's Tianyun. Before Lu Ming could speak, the young experts from the Star Cluster Hall could not help but exclaim. Lu Ming smiled and said, Who am I? I am the commander-in-chief this time. Why aren't you kneeling and saluting when you see the commander-in-chief? Don't you know the military law? Commander-in-chief? You're the commander-in-chief? Ridiculous, ridiculous, I don't accept it. Gao Li shouted, then turned to salute Hua Jingxing and shouted, Your Majesty, the commander-in-chief this time is no small matter. How can you let such a young boy be the commander-in-chief? I don't accept it. Hua Jingxing's face was calm and no expression could be seen. He said, Tianyun is someone I have my eyes on. What's there to be unhappy about? Your Majesty, the commander-in-chief position is no small matter. Only the capable can occupy it. If an incompetent person is the commander-in-chief, it will harm tens of thousands of soldiers. Gao Li said. I agree that Tianyun is the commander-in-chief. I accept Tianyun as the commander-in-chief. Suddenly, a young man from the Star Cluster Hall exclaimed. I also agree that Tianyun is the commander-in-chief. I also agree, I accept it. The other young men from the Star Cluster Hall also spoke. Tianyun had killed Qiu Changlai some time ago. His strength was incomparably powerful, and they were wholeheartedly convinced. However, Gao Li and the others had just returned from the Blood Zhao Empire, and had never heard of Tianyun's name. At this time Gao Li's face was extremely gloomy as he said coldly, "A bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well. They have never seen a real genius, so they can only treat trash as a genius." Then he looked at Lu Ming and said, "Kid, if you want to be the commander-in-chief you have to be capable. I would like to see what kind of ability you have." Then a powerful aura spread out from his body as he slowly approached Lu Ming. "You talk too much nonsense. Hurry up and make your move, or you won't have the chance," Lu Ming said with a smile. Arrogant. Gao Li was furious. He shouted and threw a punch at Lu Ming. The powerful fist force almost penetrated the void. He had used all his strength in this punch, and he was determined to teach Lu Ming an unforgettable lesson. However, Lu Ming ignored his fist force. He took a step forward and the ground cracked. Lu Ming's figure appeared in front of Gao Li in an instant and he kicked out. This kick landed directly on Gao Li's stomach. Bam! Gao Li screamed in pain as he was sent flying by Lu Ming's kick. He flew over 1,000 meters away and crashed heavily into a huge rock. Everyone present was dumbfounded, including the elites from the Star Cluster Hall and the 20,000 troops present. Although they knew that Lu Ming was strong, the visual effect was too shocking. A genius in martial ancestor realm's second realm was sent flying by Lu Ming's kick. Is this what it means to have cultivated in a big country? A genius who has seen the world? Not much. Lu Ming slowly withdrew his foot and said indifferently. Hua Qi could not help but burst out laughing. Chapter 299. On the other hand, Hua Ying was the opposite. He clenched his fists and a ferocious look appeared in his eyes. Bam! He took a step forward and a ferocious aura burst out from his body. It was terrifying and vast. Third-level martial ancestor realm and he was in the late stage of it. Tianyin, right? Just now, you merely used your movement technique to avoid Gao Li's attack. You only managed to win in one move when Gao Li was caught off guard. What's so great about that? In my opinion, it's merely a despicable and shameless trick. Otherwise, how could you have seriously injured Gao Li in one move with your second-level martial ancestor cultivation? Hua Ying stared coldly at Lu Ming. Oh, is that so? Lu Ming smiled and did not bother to explain. However, it won't work in my hands. I'll show you what true strength is. Hua Ying's eyes were filled with confidence. He was indeed talented. He was only 25 years old and he had already reached the late stage of the third-level martial ancestor realm. Even in the Blood Zhao Empire where geniuses were everywhere, he was considered a top genius and was only weaker than the 50th Blood Zhao superstar. In the Burning Sun Empire, other than the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire, he did not believe that anyone among the younger generation could be his match. Therefore he did not take Lu Ming seriously at all. 3 moves? I'll defeat you in 3 moves. If I can't defeat you, I'll let you be the commander-in-chief. Hua Ying placed his hands behind his back and said arrogantly. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. He then slowly extended a finger. 1 move? Aha, it seems like you're not confident in yourself. Do you think I can defeat you in 1 move? Hua Ying laughed. No, you've misunderstood. Lu Ming shook his head and said, I mean I'll defeat you in 1 move. What did you say? Defeat me in 1 move? Ah. Hua Ying was stunned at first and thought that he had misheard. Then he burst out laughing. Defeat me in 1 move? Even the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire wouldn't dare to say that. How arrogant of you. I'd like to see how you can defeat me in 1 move. Boom. A terrifying aura exploded from Hua Ying's body and a ray of sword chi shot into the sky. At the same time his bloodline also erupted. A silver chakra was extremely dazzling. Hua Ying's second bloodline was also a first-tier king-class bloodline. She almost had the potential of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. Hua Ying held the battle sword with both hands and raised it up high. A huge sword that was 100 meters long was formed and stood between heaven and earth. The 20,000-strong army was horrified. If you want to fight, then let's fight. What's the use of all these tricks? Lu Ming curled his lips and struck out with his palm. A huge beast claw condensed in the sky and pressed down on Hua Ying's huge sword. This beast claw was more than 20 meters long and wide, like a small mountain. It was covered with black scales, looking extremely ferocious. The second of the 3 Dao palms, the beast Dao palm. Bang! Hua Ying's giant sword crumbled like a bubble under the beast Dao palm. The beast claw did not stop and continued to press down on Hua Ying. How could this be? Hua Ying let out an incredulous roar. She kept slashing with her battle sword, sending out streaks of sword chi towards the beast claw. However, it was useless. The streaks of sword chi collapsed one after another, and the beast claw continued to press down on Hua Ying. Bang! A cloud of dust filled the air. Hua Ying was pressed down by the beast claw and slammed into the ground. After a while, the beast claw disappeared and a 20-meter-long beast claw print appeared on the ground. Hua Ying was lying in the middle of the print, twitching and foaming at the mouth. Tragic, it was too tragic. Lu Ming had shown mercy. Otherwise, he would have been smashed into minced meat with one slap. Great! Tianyun is invincible. After a long silence, a loud roar came from the army. Lu Ming looked around and saw Ming Peak in the army. The roar just now was from Ming Peak. Who else could it be but Pearl and Myongcheng beside Ming Peak? Tianyun is invincible. Ming Peak continued to roar. Then Pearl and Myongcheng followed suit. Soon the others seemed to be infected and started to roar as well. The army of 20,000 broke out into earth-shattering roars that shook the sky. In the end, even the geniuses of the Star Cluster Palace followed suit and roared. Lu Ming raised his hand and the whole place suddenly quieted down. Everyone, this time, I am indebted to His Majesty for letting me be the commander-in-chief of this army. I, Tianyun, hereby swear that as long as everyone believes in me, I will do my best to lead everyone to achieve great things. Lu Ming's clear voice spread throughout the whole place. Achieve great things, achieve great things. The army of 20,000 roared. On the high platform, Hua Jingxing stroked his beard and looked at Lu Ming with admiration in his eyes. How could this be? How could this be? At this time Hua Ying and Gao Li had already struggled to get up. However, their eyes were full of disbelief. All right, Gao Li, Hua Ying, step forward and listen to my orders. Hua Jingxing suddenly let out a shout. Your Majesty. Hua Ying and Gao Li bowed. Now Tianyun is the commander-in-chief. Are you convinced? Hua Jingxing asked. Both of them hesitated for a moment before answering. Lu Ming could see that the two of them were persuading him verbally, but they were not convinced in their hearts. However, Lu Ming did not care. He did not care about the two of them at all. All right, since that is the case, then prepare the army and set off immediately, Hua Jingxing announced. Not long after, the 20,000-strong army, each of them riding a tall green scale horse, left the imperial capital and headed north. The army of 20,000 formed a long dragon, stomping on the ground with a rumbling sound. Lu Ming was also riding on a tall and majestic green scale horse. He rode at the front, followed by Xian Yanqing, Golden Eye Blood Zombie, and Myongcheng and his siblings. Behind them were Hua Ying and the other young geniuses. Myongcheng, why are you here too? Lu Ming asked curiously along the way. Because the general of Full Moon City is our father. Ming Peak rushed to answer. No wonder. Lu Ming suddenly understood. The place they were going to support was Full Moon City. Although the imperial capital was weak and declining, the northern border with the Inua Empire was an important military area. The imperial capital still had two powerful armies guarding it that obeyed the imperial capital's orders. One of the armies was the Mountain Suppression Army, and the other was the Northern Suppression Army. Both armies were elite, battle-hardened armies. Each army had 100,000 soldiers. They were one of the few elite armies of the imperial capital. Myongcheng, Pearl, and the other's father was the general of the Mountain Suppression Army, Ming Meng. This time, the Ghost Moon Saber sect was the first to bear the brunt of the million troops of the Inua Empire. The Mountain Suppression Army and the Northern Suppression Army were also affected. They engaged in an intense battle with the Inua Empire. The Mountain Suppression Army was having a hard time and asked for help from the imperial capital. This time, Lu Ming and the others were going to support the Mountain Suppression Army. Therefore, Myongcheng and his siblings naturally followed. Along the way, Myongcheng and his siblings were very worried. They were afraid that something bad would happen to their father. Naturally, the army could not be compared to Lu Ming flying in the air. Their speed was much slower. Chapter 300. Soon 25 days passed. These 25 days were calm and peaceful. They arrived at the front of Mount Han. In front of them was the 1,000 miles of Mount Han. As long as they crossed the 1,000 miles of Mount Han, they would reach Full Moon City. Let's enter the mountain and set up camp, Lu Ming ordered. The army of 20,000 advanced towards Mount Han. After dozens of miles, they found a flat place to set up camp and had dinner. As night fell, the 1,000 miles of Mount Han roared continuously. Lu Ming ordered some people to patrol and some to rest. Late at night, more than 20 figures were leaping rapidly between the 1,000 miles of Mount Han. They were all dressed in black robes and their movement techniques were terrifyingly fast. In the forest late at night they were like ghosts. Soon, more than 20 figures appeared not far from Lu Ming's army and looked at the camp. According to the news, the Burning Sun imperial family has sent out young experts this time. The general of the army is also a young peerless genius called Tianyun. As long as we kill Tianyun and some other young geniuses, this army will be crippled. A few black-robed men discussed together. It is said that Tianyun is a genius on the same level as the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun. Leave him to me. A black-robed man with a golden moon embroidered on his black robe said. The others nodded. This black-robed man with a golden moon was the strongest among them. Come, let's go closer. The black-robed man with a golden moon waved his hand and more than 20 people followed him to the camp like ghosts. They did not emit any aura and did not make any sound as they walked. They were silent. They stopped 1,000 meters away from the camp. One of the tents emitted the aura of a 3rd-level martial grandmaster. That person should be Tianyun. I'll kill him and you guys assassinate the others. The black-robed man with a golden moon ordered. The others nodded. Under the moonlight, their figures actually became hazy, and they silently disappeared from their original positions. The black-robed man with a golden moon was the fastest. He easily passed through the checkpoints and arrived in front of a tent. In this tent, a young man sat cross-legged. This young man was none other than Huaying. Among the many young experts, his cultivation was the highest. He had reached the late 3rd realm of the martial arts grandmaster realm. The black-robed man with the golden moon naturally thought that he was Lu Ming. Genius? Die. Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the black-robed man with the golden moon. A slender black sword appeared in his hand. He and the sword turned into a black bolt of lightning and pierced towards Huaying. Huaying, who was sitting cross-legged in cultivation, suddenly felt a terrifying aura of death envelop him, causing his hair to stand on end. Not good. Huaying's spiritual sense was extremely sensitive. He had relied on it many times to avoid death. At this time he did not even think about it and his body soared into the sky. Even so, he was still one step too late. Puchi. The long sword pierced through his shoulder and blood splattered everywhere. Huaying roared and an eagle appeared above his head. This was his bloodline. The eagle's wings flapped rapidly, and he retreated rapidly. You do have some ability actually being able to avoid my sure-kill sword, but you're still going to die. The black-robed man with the golden moon sneered. His body was like a ghost as he charged towards Huaying. At the same time in another tent, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. In front of him, the tent suddenly split open, and a black sword radiance pierced towards his glabella at an extremely fast speed. An assassin of the 2nd realm of the martial arts grandmaster realm. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. His body did not move and he suddenly waved his right hand. A long spear instantly condensed and pierced forward. Its speed was much faster than the assassin's. How can this be? The assassin was horrified. He wanted to dodge but it was too late. Lu Ming's long spear pierced through his heart, and the assassin was sent flying. Swoosh. Lu Ming broke out of the tent and appeared in the sky. In the military camp there were a few screams. Some young experts had been assassinated. There were also young experts who were fighting with the assassin. Lu Ming looked around and saw Xian Yanqing's body flash across the sky, and behind her there was a corpse. He looked again and saw that Huaying was being chased by the black-robed man. He was in danger and could be killed at any time. Golden-eyed kill. Lu Ming ordered the golden-eyed blood zombie. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and pounced on the assassins. Lu Ming waved his hand and a long spear appeared. He threw it out, and the long spear turned into a bolt of lightning, shooting towards the black-robed man with the golden moon. At this time, the black-robed man had already closed in on Huaying, and a cold murderous intent enveloped Huaying. Huaying's body was cold. He had a feeling that he would die under the black-robed man's sword in the next moment. This feeling almost suffocated him. He roared in his heart, "No, I can't die, I still have to revive the Hua family." However, he had just been stabbed, and the terrifying sword chi was constantly seeping into his body. He felt waves of weakness coming over him. The black-robed man with the golden moon closed in instantly. Die. The black-robed man with the golden moon sneered and stabbed his sword towards Huaying. This sword was faster than the previous one, and it was extremely sharp and unstoppable. Huaying could not block it at all. No. Huaying roared and his heart was filled with despair. At this moment, swoosh. A bolt of lightning pierced through the air and it was extremely fast. It was a long spear that was condensed from genuine chi. Clang. The long spear stabbed the black-robed man with the golden moon's long sword, and there was a violent vibration. The black-robed man with the golden moon trembled, and his body could not help but fly to one side. Lu Ming moved, and in the next moment he swept past Hua Ying and headed towards the black-robed man with the golden moon. Hua Ying looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. Just now it was Lu Ming who had saved him. "Who are you?" The black-robed man with the golden moon let out a low roar. The power of Lu Ming's move had exceeded his expectations. With his cultivation of the martial ancestor realm's 6th realm, he had been forced to retreat, which shocked him. "Tianyun." Lu Ming replied indifferently. The black-robed man with the golden moon's pupils suddenly contracted, and he said in a low voice, "So you are Tianyun? You know me? You are sent by the Yi Moon Empire, right?" Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he asked, "So what if I know you? I'm here to send you to the west today." The black-robed man with the golden moon sneered, and with the sound of his sword, he became one with the sword, and turned into a sword radiance, attacking Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming's long spear shook and he thrust it forward. The spear was wrapped in the power of wind and fire, and the power of wind and fire completely merged. Bang! The long spear and the sword radiance collided. A strong shock wave spread out, and the black-robed man with the golden moon groaned, and his body flew back like a cannonball. How can he be so strong? As he flew back, the black-robed man with the golden moon roared in his heart. He could see that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 2nd realm martial ancestor realm, and he was at the 6th realm martial ancestor realm. However, in the end he was sent flying by the 2nd realm martial ancestor realm. How could this be? How could such a thing happen in the world? Chapter 301. Hua Ying was equally horrified. He had just experienced how terrifying the black-robed man was. He knew that he was no match for him. It was already a miracle that he was able to avoid the assassination. But now, the black-robed man with a golden moon was actually sent flying by Lu Ming with a single move. The impact on him was simply too great. Lu Ming did not care what others thought. After he sent the gold moon black-robed man flying with one move, he took a step forward and charged toward the gold moon black-robed man. At the same time he threw out a palm. Boom! In the sky, a huge beast palm slammed down on the black-robed man. The black-robed man roared and tried his best to resist, but it was useless. He was defeated by the beast palm and his body fell rapidly. At this moment Lu Ming had arrived. He thrust out his long spear with the power of wind and fire and pierced the black-robed man's heart. The black-robed man let out a desperate roar before he died. He had never dreamed that Lu Ming would be so powerful. Wasn't the news that he had received about the same level as the 6 Burning Sun heroes? But apart from Qiu Changkong, the rest of the 6 Burning Sun heroes were only at the peak of the 5th Martial Grandmaster realm. He was at the 6th Martial Grandmaster realm, but he was easily killed by Lu Ming. Was this still the combat strength of the 6 Burning Sun heroes? His combat strength was close to that of the geniuses on the Emperor roll. This was the black-robed man's last thought before he died. He was unwilling and confused. Devour. After killing the black-robed man, Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the black-robed man's essence blood. The 9 dragons' bloodline started to refine the essence blood. 9 red chakras flashed on Lu Ming's body. They were so fast that no one noticed them. That's right, 9 red chakras. Previously, in the ruins of Emperor Yun's palace, he had obtained 9 blood essences of Class 6 LV4 demonic beasts, which were equivalent to the 6th Martial Grandmaster realm. Lu Ming had refined them all in the Imperial City and turned them into bloodline energy. 9 blood essences of Class 6 Martial Grandmaster realm. How terrifying was that? The 9 dragons bloodline was directly upgraded to common level 9. One more step and it would become a king bloodline. However, to advance from the mortal class to the king class was extremely difficult. Who knew how much essence blood would be required? Whoosh. Lu Ming continued to refine the blood essence as he charged in other directions. In that direction, a martial ancestor realm level 2 assassin was fighting with a young man. That young man was a genius of the Star Cluster Hall. At that moment, he was surrounded by danger and could lose his life at any moment. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed over and stabbed out with his spear. The assassin did not even have the strength to resist and was killed. His blood essence was completely devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline. At this time, screams could be heard from other places. The golden-eyed blood zombie was simply unstoppable. His body flickered and one of the assassins was torn to shreds. In just a short while, 7 assassins had died at the hands of the golden-eyed blood zombie. Xian Yinqing wasn't much worse. With a wave of her hand, the killer couldn't resist at all, and his head was inexplicably cut off. 4 people had died in her hands. Retreat, retreat. The other party is too strong. It doesn't match the information we received. The remaining 10 or so killers screamed in panic and wanted to retreat. Where do you think you're going? Kill them. The army was alarmed. Countless soldiers rushed out and surrounded the 10 or so killers. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming floated in the air, and his killing intent was like a tide. Then whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming waved his hands continuously and long spears condensed one after another. Each long spear condensed the combined power of wind and fire. They transformed into a flaming light and shot toward the killers who were fleeing. Continuous screams were heard. They couldn't resist, they couldn't resist. The strongest of the remaining killers was only at the martial ancestor realm level 3. No matter what they did, it was useless. They were pierced by Lu Ming's long spears and nailed to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the remaining 10 or so killers were all killed. No one was lucky enough to survive. Everyone present, including the army of 20,000 and the young experts, suddenly quieted down. Then there was an earth-shattering roar. The general is invincible. The general is invincible. The roar of the army of 20,000 was particularly loud in the middle of the night. It was so loud that the demonic beasts didn't dare to make a sound. At this moment, the army of 20,000 was sincerely convinced by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's invincible power had subdued them. On the other side, Hua Ying looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. Then he gritted his teeth and flew toward Lu Ming. At the same time, Gao Li and another young man who was cultivating in the Great Sun Constabulary flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked at the 3 of them in surprise. Brother Tianyan, no general, I was blind before and offended you. I didn't expect you to forgive me and save my life. From now on, my life belongs to you. No matter if it's climbing a mountain of swords or diving into a pot of boiling oil, as long as you say it, I won't refuse. General, senior brother Hua Ying's words are also my words. Gao Li will obey your words. Me too. Gao Li and the other young man said loudly. This time, Lu Ming's strength had completely subdued them, leaving them in awe. Lu Ming's strength was too strong. It would be a piece of cake for him to kill them. Previously, they had offended Lu Ming, causing them to tremble in fear at the thought of it. Furthermore, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 2nd layer martial ancestor realm. It was unbelievable for him to possess such strength. They understood that the gap between them and Lu Ming was too great. They would never be able to catch up to him. They were sincerely convinced by Lu Ming's strength. Don't mention it. Since I'm the general of this army, I have the responsibility to ensure your safety. Lu Ming glanced at them and said in a deep voice. The general is too generous. I can't wait any longer. Hua Ying sighed. All right, let's check how many people we've lost. Lu Ming waved his hand and ordered. Yes. Hua Ying immediately cupped his fists and turned around to check. After a while, the results were out. 11 young experts of the martial grandmaster realm had died. 3 young experts of the 1st layer martial ancestor realm had died. This was a great loss. One should know that these were the geniuses secretly cultivated by the imperial family. They were the future pillars of the imperial family, but now they were dead. As for the rest, most of them were injured. The Yingyue Empire. Lu Ming whispered, his eyes flickering with killing intent. At the same time he raised his guard. The Yingyue Empire was most famous for its assassins. The assassins of the Yingyue Empire were very famous in the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. Those assassins who hid in the dark were the most frightening and the most troublesome. Next, Lu Ming increased the number of patrols and sent out the golden-eyed blood zombie to patrol back and forth. The golden-eyed blood zombie did not know fatigue, so it was perfect for patrolling. Lu Ming returned to his tent to refine the essence blood. Just now, the essence blood of those assassins had all been devoured by Lu Ming when he had the chance. There were more than 20 people, and only a few of them were martial grandmasters. The rest were martial artists of the 1st layer martial ancestor realm and above. The strongest one was of the 6th layer martial ancestor realm. The essence blood of these people gathered together was very large. However, after the 9 dragons bloodline had advanced to the 9th level, the refining speed had greatly increased. Soon, all the essence blood was refined and turned into nourishment for the 9 dragons bloodline. Chapter 302. That night was very peaceful. Early the next morning the army set off and continued to move forward. For the next 4 days, Lu Ming strengthened his vigilance every day, but no assassins of the Yin Moon Empire came. Soon they would arrive at Full Moon City. According to Myeongcheng and his siblings, they would arrive at Full Moon City in a few hours. Rumble. Suddenly the earth rumbled and the earth trembled faintly. What's going on? On the other side, Ming Peek's expression changed. There's a large number of armored cavalry running. It seems that there are a lot of them. Hua Ying frowned. Hua Ying was familiar with the art of war and was very accurate in judging marching and fighting. Did my father send someone to pick us up? Ming Peek was overjoyed. Impossible. Judging from the sound, there are at least 5,000 soldiers. How could he send so many people to pick us up in this situation? Hua Ying retorted. Stop. Lu Ming waved his hand and the army stopped. Then Lu Ming rose into the air, hid in a dark cloud and looked forward. More than 10 miles ahead, there was a long team running along the mountain path. Each person was riding a huge wolf. At a glance, there were more than 5,000 people or even close to 10,000 people. Among them, there was a flag with a moon embroidered on one side and a wolf embroidered on the other. The army of the Yin Moon Empire. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. Then he landed and told him what he saw. What? Why is the army of the Yin Moon Empire here? Has Full Moon City been breached? Ming Peek exclaimed. Father. Pearl's voice trembled and was full of worry. I don't think so. Judging from the number of people in this army and the direction of their march, they most likely came from some small path and wanted to sneak attack Full Moon City. If I'm not wrong, Full Moon City is probably in a war right now. If that's the case, when this army arrives, Full Moon City's mountain guard will be attacked from both sides. Hua Ying analyzed. Lu Ming couldn't help but look at Hua Ying in a new light. He didn't expect him to have such a good analysis of war. Let's lower our voices and advance stealthily. We'll set up an ambush ahead and annihilate this army. Lu Ming waved his hand and gave the order. Immediately, the 20,000-strong army dismounted and led their horses to set up an ambush on a hillside 2 miles away. The hillside was covered with weeds and tiny trees. The height of the trees could reach up to 2 meters. It was impossible for people and horses to see anything when they walked in. At the bottom of the hill there was a slightly flat mountain path. By the time Lu Ming and the others had hidden themselves, the Yin Moon Empire's army had already approached. Brr, brr. Wolf howls sounded one after another. The earth rumbled as a great army rushed over. Every soldier was tall and sturdy. They wore metal armor and carried bows and large blades on their backs. Beneath them were black wolves that were about 2 meters tall. They howled incessantly and emitted a murderous aura. This is the famous Grey Wolf army of the Yin Moon Empire. Hua Ying's expression changed slightly. Lu Ming's expression changed as well. He had heard of the Grey Wolf army of the Yin Moon Empire. Most of the Yin Moon Empire's territory was boundless grasslands and plateaus. There were countless monsters on them. Therefore, the cavalry of the Yin Moon Empire was very famous. According to the different mounts, they were divided into many armies such as the Grey Wolf Army and the Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Army. They were very powerful. Rumble. Accompanied by wolf howls, the front of the Grey Wolf Army rushed over from the mountain path below. Lu Ming didn't make a move. It wasn't time yet. It would be best to wait until more people rushed over. Soon more than half of the Grey Wolf Army had rushed over. Kill? At this time Lu Ming let out a loud shout. He led the charge down. Kill? Kill. The 20,000-strong army mounted their green-scaled horses and roared as they charged down from the hillside. Their momentum was like a rainbow. Oh no, enemy attack! The Grey Wolf Army roared. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and rushed down the hillside in an instant. He formed a giant spear that was over 100 meters long and swept it out. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, dozens of Grey Wolf cavalry soldiers were killed by Lu Ming's spear along with their armor and mounts. Blood, flesh and bones splattered everywhere. Even the armor exploded into pieces and shot in all directions, piercing through the armor of the soldiers of the Grey Wolf Army and killing them. With one spear, Lu Ming killed more than 50 armored soldiers. Kill. Lu Ming held his spear and swept it again. Another 50 soldiers were killed. Devour. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline. His left palm was like a whirlpool, releasing a strong devouring power. All the blood essence was devoured by Lu Ming. Although most of these soldiers were in the martial soldier realm, some were in the martial mentor realm, and only a few were in the martial grand mentor realm, there were so many of them that Lu Ming didn't let them go. And the blood essence of the Grey Wolf. Whoosh whoosh. Drops of blood essence were devoured by Lu Ming and refined crazily. Kill. At that moment, the army on the hillside had arrived. They separated the Grey Wolf Army into several groups and surrounded them. The scene fell into a chaotic battle. Damn it, die. More than 10 generals in armor with strong auras rose into the air and charged towards Lu Ming and the rest. Obviously, they were the martial ancestor realm experts of the army. Good timing. Lu Ming rushed forward. Hua Ying and the other martial ancestor realm experts also went up to meet them. Lu Ming targeted a martial ancestor realm 5th realm expert at first glance. This person should be the most powerful expert of the army. Bang. Lu Ming swept his spear and the armor of the martial ancestor realm 5th realm general exploded. He coughed up blood and flew back. This person is too strong. I can't defeat him. The general was scared out of his wits and turned to run. However, in the next moment, poof, a long spear pierced through his heart and killed him. Lu Ming devoured his blood essence and turned to kill the rest. More than 10 martial ancestor realm experts were not enough for them to kill. Before long they were all killed. Then they charged towards the Grey Wolf Cavalry. The Grey Wolf Cavalry had a small number of people. There were about 10,000 of them and Lu Ming and the rest had ambushed them. Naturally they had the upper hand. When Lu Ming and the other martial ancestor realm experts joined in, the battle became even more one-sided. An hour later the battle was over. More than 10,000 Grey Wolf Cavalry were killed and their corpses covered the forest. Count the number of casualties. Lu Ming gave the instructions. While waiting he refined the blood essence. Soon, his body flashed and all the blood essence was refined. I still haven't leveled up. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. At that moment the number of casualties was out. 2009 people died and a few thousand were injured. This number made Lu Ming's heart tremble. Lu Ming did not expect so many people to die in the battle. The Grey Wolf Cavalry is too strong. Hua Ying sighed beside him. In this battle they had launched a surprise attack and had twice the number of people. Even with the help of the martial ancestor realm experts, more than 2,000 people died. This showed how powerful the Grey Wolf Cavalry was. Chapter 303. It's mainly because of their mounts. The Grey Wolf's skin is as hard as iron, and it's extremely ferocious. The Cyan Scale Horse is no match for it. Many of the soldiers who died in the battle were killed by the Grey Wolves. Hua Ying explained. How about the Grey Wolves? How many did we catch? Lu Ming asked. Not many. These Grey Wolves have been tamed by the Yin Moon Empire with a secret method. They won't surrender and will only fight to the death. We barely caught 100 but we can't use them. Hua Ying explained. Lu Ming frowned. Let's go. After a while Lu Ming led the army and continued their journey. There was nothing to think about. Lu Ming didn't believe that the Yin Moon Empire's army was as elite as the Grey Wolf army. If they were all elites like that, the Burning Sun Empire would have been destroyed long ago. There shouldn't be a lot of such elite troops. The army set out and rushed towards the Moon City. At this moment, the Moon City might be experiencing a great battle. They had to rush over to help. They guessed right. The Moon City was indeed in a fierce battle. Kill? To the north of the Moon City was a boundless grassland. On the grassland, two armies were fighting fiercely. On one side was the Mountain Suppression Army. There were 80,000 of them. They were all cavalry and looked as majestic as a mountain. On the other side was the Yin Moon Army. There were only 50,000 of them. However, there was one army that was particularly eye-catching. Because every cavalry's mount was a Blood Moon Demonic Tiger. This was the Yin Moon Empire's Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Army. They were even stronger than the Grey Wolf Army. This Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Army had 10,000 people. The Yin Moon Empire used the 10,000 Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Army as the vanguard. Together with 40,000 ordinary cavalry, they fought fiercely against the Mountain Suppression Army. More than 100,000 cavalry galloped on the grassland. The earth trembled. A powerful and terrifying aura gathered and stirred up the clouds. The clouds in the sky exploded and were swept away. It was impossible for them to gather. Kill? Shouts shook the heavens and the earth. The two armies collided fiercely. Suddenly, a murderous aura filled the sky. All kinds of true chi surged. Screams rose and fell. The smell of blood filled the air. Clang, clang. The sound of steel clashing resounded through the grassland. A moment later, the two steel armies charged past, leaving behind a ground full of corpses. Change direction quick. At the front of the Jianghu army, a man in his 50s roared. He was tall and sturdy, and his hair and beard were all over the place. He looked very similar to Myeongcheng. He was the general of the Jianghu army, the father of the three Myeongcheng siblings, Ming Meng. Dong, dong. The 80,000-strong army under Ming Meng's lead drew a huge arc on the grassland and quickly turned around. On the other side, the Yinmun Empire's army also turned around under the leadership of the generals. The two armies faced each other again. Armor-piercing arrow release. Ming Meng roared. Nearly 80,000 cavalrymen took down the armor-piercing bows on their mounts and shot arrows. Swoosh swoosh, a dense rain of armor-piercing arrows shot toward the Yinmun army, covering the sky and covering the earth. Fire. The Yinmun Empire also shot out arrows that blotted out the sky. After shooting out the armor-piercing arrows, the two armies charged towards each other. Ah! As the arrows fell, the screams of the people and the roars of the mounts blended together. People fell off their mounts and were constantly shot to death. These were armor-piercing arrows which could pierce through thick armor and were very powerful. If an ordinary person was shot by one of these arrows, his entire body would directly explode. Tens of thousands of people shot arrows at the same time. Even a martial arts grandmaster expert would not dare to be careless. If he was careless, his genuine chi would be exhausted by the dense armor-piercing arrows. Therefore, ordinary martial arts grandmasters were not invincible in the face of such a large army. Once the army formed a battle formation, it was not impossible to kill a martial arts grandmaster expert. This kind of thing happened from time to time in history. After shooting a round of armor-piercing arrows, the two armies collided again. The generals of the two armies bore the brunt of the collision. Kill. Ming Meng roared. He held a 2-meter-long broadsword in his hand and slashed toward the general of the enemy. It seemed as if the sky and earth were about to be split open. Ming Meng's cultivation had reached the peak of martial arts Grandmaster Realm LV6 and he was a general of hundreds of battles. His combat strength was incomparably powerful. However, the general of the Yinmun Empire was no weaker than him. He was also at the peak of martial arts Grandmaster Realm LV6 and the long spear in his hand shook the space as he waved it. Clang. The two of them exchanged blows and formed a strong storm. The cavalry near them were directly swept up by the storm and flew hundreds of meters away. Haha Ming Meng, today I will definitely destroy your mountain suppression army and flatten Full Moon City. The general of the enemy laughed loudly. You've been saying this every day. Is there any use? Ming Meng snorted coldly. However, he had a bad feeling in his heart. The Grey Wolf army of the Yinmun Empire had not appeared, which made Ming Meng feel uneasy. Although there were only 10,000 Grey Wolf army, their combat strength was too strong and he could not afford to be careless. Although he had left 20,000 mountain suppression army soldiers to defend Full Moon City, he was still not confident. Ah! The general of the enemy laughed and exchanged a few blows with Ming Meng. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers charged past, leaving behind a sea of corpses. Roar! Roar! Tiger roars sounded. The 10,000 bloody moon demonic tiger army of the Yinmun Empire was extremely powerful. Each time they could bite off a piece of the mountain suppression army's cavalry formation. After a few clashes, the mountain suppression army lost thousands of cavalry. Ming Meng's heart was bleeding. The Jianghu army was a powerful army that he had spent decades to create. It was one of the few powerful armies of the royal family. Losing even one of them would make Ming Meng's heart ache. Kill. Ming Meng's hair and beard were as fierce as a lion. Rumble. At this moment, a violent roar came from the direction of Full Moon City. The earth was faintly shaking. Ming Meng's expression changed greatly. They're finally here. The general of the enemy laughed loudly. The Grey Wolf army, it's the Grey Wolf army. You made the Grey Wolf army take a detour from Mount Han to sneak attack Full Moon City. Ming Meng's expression changed greatly as he roared angrily. Ah, that's right. However, it's too late now. How can the 20,000 soldiers you left behind be a match for the Grey Wolf army? The general of the enemy laughed loudly. Ming Meng's expression was extremely gloomy. At this moment he was in a dilemma. If he led the army back to help, the local army would definitely chase after them from behind. At that time the Grey Wolf army would attack them head-on. The mountain suppression army would be in danger if they were attacked from both sides. However, if he didn't go back to help, could Full Moon City withstand the attack of the Grey Wolf army? Rumble. The shaking sound was getting closer and closer. Ming Meng's expression became more and more unsightly, while the general of the Yinmun Empire laughed more and more happily. Haha, today I will definitely flatten Full Moon City and then lead the army to attack the imperial capital of the Burning Sun Empire. What's going on? The general of the Yinmun Empire laughed arrogantly and happily at first, but his expression immediately changed. Chapter 304. Amidst the smoke and dust, it could be seen that this army was not riding ash wolves, but strong green-scale horses. The army of the Burning Sun Empire? The eyes of the general of the Moon Empire widened in disbelief. How could the army of the Burning Sun Empire appear here? Where is the Grey Wolf Cavalry? Where did they go? This new army was naturally Lu Ming's army. Kill? Lu Ming took the lead, holding his spear with one hand and emitting a murderous aura. The army of 18,000 followed closely behind, stabbing at the army of the Moon Empire like a sharp knife. Kill. Soldiers of the Mountain Army, follow me and kill the bastards of the Moon Empire. How could Ming Meng miss such an opportunity? He immediately roared and his voice spread across the battlefield. Kill. 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 All the soldiers of the Mountain Army roared and followed Ming Meng to charge at the army of the Moon Empire. The general of the Moon Empire looked terrible. He shouted, "There are not many enemies, less than 20,000 of them. We are all experienced elites. 10,000 of us are enough to block them." Immediately, 10,000 cavalrymen of the Moon Empire charged at Lu Ming's army. "Remember, block them. When the Grey Wolf Cavalry arrives, we can kill them all." The general of the Moon Empire shouted. His voice spread across the battlefield to boost the morale. "Ha ha, you must be talking about the Grey Wolf Cavalry." Lu Ming laughed. He waved his hand and a storage ring flew forward. Then the storage ring glowed and wolf and human heads fell to the ground. "Those are the heads of the Grey Wolf Cavalry." "So many? Could it be that the Grey Wolf Cavalry has all been killed?" The army of the Moon Empire was in an uproar. "The 10,000 Grey Wolf Cavalry have all been killed by us. Don't expect them to come back." At the same time he dashed toward the other party at high speed. "Impossible." The general of the Moon Empire shouted. He could not believe that 10,000 Grey Wolf Cavalry had been killed. Lu Ming's words made the army of the Moon Empire very suspicious. Some soldiers did not hold their weapons as hard as before. Kill. At this moment the 18,000 soldiers led by Lu Ming had already clashed with the 10,000 enemy soldiers. Deceiving the masses with lies, kill. The leader of the other party was a burly man in the 5th martial ancestor realm. As he shouted, he slashed at Lu Ming with his saber. Die. Lu Ming roared and thrust out his long spear. The saber light shattered, and the long spear directly pierced through the opponent's throat. Bang. The spear light did not stop, continuously killing more than a dozen people behind it before it dissipated. Lu Ming rode the azure-scaled horse and rushed past. Behind him, Xian Yinqing, golden-eyed blood zombie, Hua Ying, Gao Li, and the others followed closely behind, leading an army of 18,000. Kill. Led by Lu Ming, the Blazing Sun Army immediately tore a large hole in the enemy's formation. The 10,000 soldiers of the Moon Empire were not as powerful as the Grey Wolf Army. Their strength was on par with Lu Ming's army. Naturally, they could not block Lu Ming's attack. Moreover, the morale of the Moon Empire was low and they had fewer soldiers. They were no match for the Blazing Sun Army at all. In a short while they were scattered. On the other side, Ming Meng led the Mountain Army to entangle the enemy and gain the upper hand. "Everyone move out." Ming Meng's long roar echoed in Full Moon City. Rumble. Suddenly, a large army rushed out of Full Moon City and charged toward them. It was the 20,000 soldiers that Ming Meng had left behind to guard the city. The Moon Empire was besieged and their morale was even lower. Large numbers of soldiers were killed by the Blazing Sun Empire. "Retreat, retreat." The general of the Moon Empire shouted anxiously. He knew that they were going to lose today. If this continued, they would be completely wiped out. The general of the Moon Empire led the powerful Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Army and charged forward. Immediately, a gap was created in the Mountain Army led by Ming Meng. "Charge out." The Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Army led the way and the other armies followed behind. The army that was fighting with Lu Ming and the rest threw away their helmets and armor and ran for their lives. "Kill." Lu Ming shouted and chased after them. On the other side, Ming Meng led the Mountain Army to chase after them. The army was defeated like a landslide. Along the way the Moon Empire left behind large numbers of corpses. Half an hour later Lu Ming and the others retreated. In this battle, only about 20,000 of the Moon Empire's 50,000 soldiers escaped. 30,000 died in battle. The Mountain Army seized countless materials. It was a great victory. An hour later the two armies met on the grassland outside Full Moon City. Dad. Miangcheng and his siblings rushed toward Ming Meng. "Why didn't you three cultivate in the imperial capital? Why did you come back?" Ming Meng scolded with a straight face. Pearl stuck out her tongue and didn't say anything. Ming Feng giggled and said, "Father, when we heard that the Inui army was besieging Full Moon City, we were so anxious. As your sons, how could we not fight the enemy together with you? Naturally, we came back to be with you. Well, you are a little filial." Ming Ming's face became a little better and he nodded. "Also this time the imperial family sent an army to support us. The leader is Tianyun, so we naturally came back together to introduce him to you." Ming Peak said again. "Tianyun? Is that the Tianyun who killed Qiu Changlai, the genius of the Shifang sword sect? Where is he? Hurry up and introduce him to me." Ming Ming was shocked when he heard Tianyun's name, and he hurriedly said, "Tianyun greets General Ming." At this time Lu Ming walked up and cupped his fists. "You are Tianyun. Aha, you are really a dragon among men. I admire you." Ming Ming laughed and cupped his fists politely. "General Ming, you are too polite. This time Tianyun came here to fight against the Yin Moon Empire with you. If there is anything I don't understand, I would like to seek your advice." Lu Ming said politely. "I don't deserve your advice. As soon as you came, you wiped out the Yin Moon Empire's Grey Wolf army and defeated the Yin Moon Empire's army. I should learn from you. Also, don't call me General. Call me Brother Ming." "Ah." Ming Ming said very heroically. "Brother Ming?" Lu Ming's face was strange and he glanced at Myong Cheng and the others. Myong Cheng, Pearl and Ming Peak's faces stiffened, and they were dumbfounded. Lu Ming called Lu Ming Brother Ming. Then wouldn't they be a generation younger than Lu Ming? What should they call Lu Ming? Uncle? At the thought of this, the three of them were a little mad. "Ah, okay, then I will call you Brother Ming." Lu Ming agreed unkindly and he laughed heartily. Myong Cheng and his siblings were the complete opposite. Each of them had a bitter face and they objected in their hearts. Chapter 305. For the next 3 days, there was no movement from the Yin Moon Empire's army. Full Moon City was peaceful. To the north of Full Moon City was the direction of the Yin Moon Empire. To the west was a boundless plateau. The terrain of this plateau was complicated. There were boundless grasslands, but there were also clusters of mountains and ridges. Tuck, tuck. The earth shook. Lu Ming led Xian Yanqing, Huaying and a few hundred others. Ming Ming led 3,000 guards and galloped on the plateau. This plateau was usually used as a training ground for the mountain army. There were many demonic beasts roaring in groups. Lu Ming saw a group of hundreds of ferocious lions. Their bodies were shining in gold. When they saw Lu Ming's army, they roared and ran into the distance. Soon he saw a group of several thousand 2-meter-tall black bulls galloping on the grassland. There are many demonic beasts on this plateau. If we can capture them and form an army, how strong will we be? Lu Ming laughed while riding on the green scale horse. "Little brother Tianyun, you're right. However, the demonic beasts on this plateau are wild and untamed. Moreover, there aren't many of them of the same species. It's too difficult to form an army of tens of thousands of people. If we use different species, it'll be difficult to train them together and their combat strength won't be high." Ming Ming explained with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. He also understood. For example, the wild lions were not inferior to the Blood Moon demonic tiger. Unfortunately, it was difficult to capture more than 10,000 of them. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to tame these wild demonic beasts. The group galloped on the grassland. Along the way they saw all kinds of demonic beasts. Some moved alone while others moved in groups. Suddenly a roar came from the front. A murderous aura filled the air. Tuck, tuck. Then they heard a group of wild lions, giant bears, and other demonic beasts galloping toward them. All of the demonic beasts' eyes were filled with panic and fear. Wolf howls came from behind. Then Lu Ming and the others saw a dozen blood shadows galloping toward them. Taking a closer look, it wasn't a blood shadow but a dozen huge wolves. These giant wolves looked extremely strange. Each of them was over 2 meters tall and 4 meters long. Their bodies were blood red and covered with blood red scales. Even their legs were covered with scales. Only the fiery red hair on his neck looked like a ball of flame. A berserk lion was being chased by a giant wolf. It was unable to resist at all and was sent flying with a swipe of its paw. Then the berserk lion's neck was bitten off. What a mighty giant wolf, what powerful strength! Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he exclaimed in admiration. These are crimson blood-scaled wolves. The weakest of these crimson blood-scaled wolves is equivalent to a 7th-layer martial grandmaster. There are even 2 first-layer martial ancestor. They definitely came from the depths of the plateau. Ming Ming exclaimed in surprise. Brr, brr. At this moment, when the demonic beasts in front saw Lu Ming and the others, they all took a detour and fled far away. However, the crimson blood-scaled wolves stopped in front of Lu Ming and the others. They looked at Lu Ming and the others ferociously and kept howling. They had no intention of running away. These crimson blood-scaled wolves are definitely the best mounts. Lu Ming looked at the crimson blood-scaled wolves with interest and said, "That's right. These crimson blood-scaled wolves are said to have the bloodline of a flood dragon. Their bodies are invulnerable and they run like the wind. They are definitely the best mounts. If you have an army of tens of thousands of crimson blood-scaled wolves, you will be invincible. Unfortunately, perhaps the crimson blood-scaled wolves really do have the bloodline of a flood dragon. They are extremely arrogant and unruly. It is extremely difficult to tame them. Even if you use strength to suppress them, they would rather die than submit. The Moon Empire also covets the crimson blood-scaled wolves, but they have been helpless for so many years," Ming Ming explained. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. He originally wanted to build a strong army. It's just a beast. I don't believe that I can't tame it." Hua Ying snorted and said unwillingly. He then rushed out and pounced on the crimson blood-scaled wolves. Brr. The crimson blood-scaled wolves roared and pounced on Hua Ying to counterattack. "Get lost," Hua Ying shouted and threw out a few punches. Bang, bang. Some of the martial master realm crimson blood-scaled wolves were sent flying. They rolled on the ground for a few rounds before they got up and shook off the mud on their bodies. They were fine. As for the two martial ancestor realm LV1 demonic beasts, they were only pushed back a few steps. On the other hand, Hua Ying's body swayed a little. "What a strong force. Let's see if I can't tame you." Hua Ying shouted and rushed forward, throwing out punches. Hua Ying's cultivation was high. The crimson blood-scaled wolves were naturally no match for him and were sent flying. Hua Ying targeted a martial ancestor realm LV1 crimson blood-scaled wolf and rode on it to tame it. Brr. The crimson blood-scaled wolf let out an earth-shattering roar as if its dignity had been insulted. It was furious and its body shook and jumped wildly. At the same time, a blazing flame emerged from its body and enveloped Hua Ying. "Kneel down." Hua Ying shouted and used all his strength to suppress the crimson blood-scaled wolf. Hua Ying was a martial ancestor realm LV3 martial ancestor realm bloodline. When he used all his strength, it was as if a mountain was pressing on the crimson blood-scaled wolf's back. The crimson blood-scaled wolf kept roaring but it could not resist and was pressed down. However, it did not give in. It kept struggling and roaring, looking extremely ferocious. "Give in or I'll kill you," Hua Ying shouted. Brr. The crimson blood-scaled wolf responded to him with a roar. "Damn it." Hua Ying continued to suppress it. After a while, Hua Ying was sweating profusely but the crimson blood-scaled wolf still did not give in. "It's really untamed," Lu Ming sighed. At the same time he felt that it was a pity. The crimson blood-scaled wolves were not too strong. As long as there were some of them who were equivalent to martial masters, they could form an army and it would be terrifying. Brr. At this moment there was an earth-shattering roar. Two rays of bloody light came from afar at an incredible speed. In a few breaths they were in front of Hua Ying. One of them pounced on Hua Ying. Hua Ying was shocked and threw out a punch. Boom. With a loud bang, Hua Ying's body was pushed back a dozen meters. At this moment he could see clearly that there were two more crimson blood-scaled wolves. These two crimson blood-scaled wolves were extremely majestic and bigger than the other crimson blood-scaled wolves. They are equivalent to martial ancestor realm LV3. Lu Ming muttered. "What's going on? What's going on today? Why are there so many martial ancestor realm crimson blood-scaled wolves? Normally they would hide in the depths of the plateau. Why are there so many of them today?" Ming Ming was extremely surprised. Brr. The two martial ancestor realm LV3 crimson blood-scaled wolves roared and stared at Lu Ming and the others. Then with a roar they turned and ran towards the plateau. The other crimson blood-scaled wolves followed closely behind. "Lu Ming, how about we make a bet?" Chapter 306. A bet? Lu Ming was stunned. "That's right. Let's bet with these two crimson blood-scale wolves. These two crimson blood-scale wolves are at the third level of the martial ancestor realm. Let's see who can tame them first. Whoever tames them first wins. The loser has to agree to a condition of the winner. Do you dare to bet with me?" Xian Yinqing turned her eyes and said. Hearing this, the surrounding people looked at the two of them with great interest. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing stood together like a golden couple. Since the imperial capital, Xian Yanqing had been following Lu Ming. Naturally, the others thought that the two of them had a special relationship. Now that Xian Yanqing proposed a bet with Lu Ming, the others naturally thought that it was a flirting between the two of them. By the side, Ming Zhu looked at the peerless Xian Yanqing and sighed in her heart. She thought that perhaps only a beauty like Xian Yanqing was worthy of Lu Ming. The distance between her and Lu Ming was too far. In the future it would only grow further. After sighing, Pearl hid her thoughts in the bottom of her heart. She smiled and looked at Lu Ming. "Why wouldn't I?" Lu Ming said with a smile. "All right, let's begin." Xian Yanqing revealed a cunning look. She moved and turned into a ray of light, chasing after the crimson blood-scale wolves. Lu Ming smiled. Similarly, his figure moved and he stepped into the air. "Let's go and have a look." Ming Meng and the others chased after them on horseback. However, after a while they could no longer see Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. "Forget it, let's wait for them here," Ming Meng said. The others nodded and waited. The crimson blood-scale wolves ran at a terrifying speed on the grassland. However, with Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing chasing after them, they caught up in a short while. Whoosh! With a slight movement, Xian Yanqing lunged at a third-layer martial ancestor realm crimson blood-scaled wolf. Brr. That crimson blood-scale wolf roared, opened its mouth and actually spat out a pillar of fire, rushing towards Xian Yanqing. However, Xian Yanqing waved his hand and sent out a palm strike. The fire pillar was dispersed, and Xian Yanqing easily stepped on the back of the crimson blood-scale wolf. Brr. The crimson blood-scale wolf suddenly went crazy, and issued a furious roar. Its body crazily swung and it wanted to throw Xian Yanqing off. But Xian Yanqing's true qi burst forth, forming a terrifying pressure, suppressing the crimson blood-scale wolf. However, the crimson blood-scale wolf howled and refused to submit. On the other side, Lu Ming was also standing on the back of the crimson blood-scale wolf, using his martial arts to suppress it. But at the same time the crimson blood-scale wolf went crazy and refused to submit. Actually, it was not difficult for Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing to kill these two crimson blood-scale wolves. It was very simple. However, they did not want to kill them but to tame them. In this way they could not use too much strength or else they would kill the crimson blood-scale wolves in an instant. They could only use an appropriate amount of strength to suppress the crimson blood-scale wolves and wear down their ferocious qi. Only then could they slowly tame them. This was a process of exhaustion. Brr, brr. The two third-layer martial ancestor realm crimson blood-scale wolves kept howling and leaping, trying to throw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing off. However, the two of them stood firmly on the backs of the crimson blood-scale wolves. Just like this, the two crimson blood-scale wolves abandoned the other crimson blood-scale wolves and ran towards the depths of the plateau while howling. The crimson blood-scale wolves were too fast, and they passed by mountains and rivers as if they were flat ground. Soon they had crossed 1,000 miles. Here, the grassland had disappeared and was replaced by endless plateaus and mountains. The two crimson blood-scale wolves kept howling and leaping through the forest. Soon they had crossed another 1,000 miles into the plateau. Brr, brr. Suddenly, the howls of wolves echoed from afar, echoing the howls of the two crimson blood-scale wolves. Hearing the howls of the wolves around them, the two crimson blood-scale wolves howled even louder, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Brr, brr. The howls of the wolves became denser and came from all directions. Then, one after another, tall and majestic figures appeared from all directions. Crimson blood-scale wolves. Crimson blood-scale wolves appeared all around them. The crimson blood-scale wolves looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing with murderous intent and howled continuously. There are so many crimson blood-scale wolves. Is this a wolf den? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The howls of the wolves were endless. Lu Ming looked around and realized that most of the crimson blood-scale wolves were second-grade demonic beasts, which were equivalent to martial masters. Only a small portion of them were third-grade demonic beasts. There are so many crimson blood-scale wolves. If we used them as mounts and formed an army, how powerful would that be? Lu Ming's heart could not help but burn with passion. Brr, brr. Suddenly, two howls of the wolves were heard. These two howls were earth-shattering and pierced through the clouds. After these two howls, the other crimson blood-scale wolves in all directions quieted down, not a single sound was heard. Within a radius of 10 miles, the other demonic beasts did not even dare to breathe loudly. It was incomparably silent. In the next moment, Lu Ming saw two crimson blood-scale wolves walking out from the tallest mountain peak. These two crimson blood-scale wolves were extremely tall and sturdy. They were at least 3 meters tall, and their bodies were covered with fiery red scales that seemed to be polished from fiery jade. They were sparkling and translucent, as if there were traces of flames jumping out from them. An extremely powerful aura burst out from the two crimson blood-scale wolves. Peak 6th grade demonic beasts. They are equivalent to peak 6th grade martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly moved. Woo woo. At this moment the other crimson blood-scale wolves whimpered and prostrated themselves, as if they were welcoming the arrival of their king. Could these two crimson blood-scale wolves be the wolf kings of this pack? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he thought of this possibility. Judging from the situation, it should not be wrong. Brr, brr. The two crimson blood-scale wolves suddenly roared and leaped into the air, pouncing toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did not dare to be careless. They unleashed their full strength and met the wolves head-on. Boom, boom. With two loud bangs, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were both sent flying. What a strong power. Although the Crimson Blood Wolf King is only a Class 6 LV4 demonic beast, its combat strength is not comparable to an ordinary Class 6 LV4 demonic beast. It is at least a Class 7 LV4 demonic beast. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Brr, brr. The two Crimson Blood-scale Wolf Kings roared and pounced toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle. However, Xian Yanqing was at a disadvantage as soon as the battle began. He was no match for the wolves. Lu Ming was slightly better, but he was also at a disadvantage. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could easily defeat a normal 6th grade martial ancestor realm martial artist. However, he was no match for a 7th grade martial ancestor realm martial artist. Bang, bang. After a few moves, Lu Ming's muscles trembled and he was forced to retreat. He was at a disadvantage. Bang. On the other side, Xian Yanqing was sent flying and landed beside Lu Ming, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. However, she did not make a sound and did not escape. It seemed that she would not leave if Lu Ming did not leave. She was very stubborn. Roar. Chapter 307. Shaoqing, why don't we leave this place first? Lu Ming said. With the two wolf kings here, it was impossible for them to tame the crimson blood-scaled wolf today. No, I don't believe that I can't tame it. Xian Yanqing said stubbornly. Lu Ming was speechless. This girl is throwing a tantrum again. It's just a fake wolf king. Let's see if they dare to be arrogant in front of the real wolf king. Xian Yanqing snorted and quickly formed a seal with both hands. Then layers of black light emitted from Xian Yanqing's body. Slowly, the black light formed a giant silver wolf in the air. Moonhowl wolf. Lu Ming could not help but exclaim. Lu Ming was very familiar with this giant silver wolf. Back in the Dongyi tribe's ancestral remains, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing each obtained half of the Moonhowl wolf's beast soul. Later on, in the Battle of White Tiger Hall, Lu Ming merged with half of the Beast King's soul and killed Lu Yunxiong and Duanmu Lin. He was very familiar with this giant silver wolf. He did not expect Xian Yanqing to condense the Moonhowl wolf at this moment. However, Lu Ming could tell that it was not a beast soul, but something that had been condensed. It was a manifestation of a cultivation technique. The Moonhowl wolf's aura had weakened significantly. Whoa! The Moonhowl wolf let out an earth-shattering howl and a supreme aura spread out. Although it was only half of a Moonhowl wolf and had been condensed, the Moonhowl wolf was a real beast king when it was alive. The aura of a superior being was extremely powerful. Woo-woo! Countless crimson blood-scaled wolves let out woo-woo-woo sounds. They lowered their heads and looked at the Moonhowl wolf in the air in awe. The Moonhowl wolf was silver and white. It stood in the air, looking mighty and powerful as it howled continuously. Slowly, some of the level 4 crimson blood-scaled wolves also lowered their heads. Brr, brr. However, the two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings continued to howl as they looked at the Moonhowl wolf in the sky. Although they were afraid, they did not submit. Furthermore, an ominous glint flashed in his eyes, as if he would pounce on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing at any moment. It seems like the two wolf kings are very difficult to tame. Lu Ming thought. Brr. The Moonhowl wolf in the air howled at the sky, its entire body emitting a dazzling silver light. At that moment, Lu Ming's body also emitted a silver glow. Then the silver glow condensed into a huge moon-howling wolf in the sky. What happened? Lu Ming was shocked. Could it be that the remnant of the Moonhowl Heavenly Wolf that remained in my body after I fused with the soul of the Moonhowl Heavenly Wolf? Now, it has been activated by the other half of the Moonhowl Heavenly Wolf in Xian Yanqing, causing it to appear. Lu Ming's mind raced as he thought of this. This was the only explanation that made sense. The moonhowl wolf condensed on Lu Ming's body howled at the sky, emitting a mighty aura. The rest of the crimson blood-scaled wolves were lying on the ground. Some of the low-level ones were even trembling. Even a few level 4 crimson blood-scaled wolves were lying on the ground, not daring to move. Only the 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings continued to howl. However, a trace of fear finally appeared in their eyes. At that moment, the moonhowl wolf above Xian Yanqing's head and the moonhowl wolf above Lu Ming's head merged into an even larger moonhowl wolf. The moonhowl wolf howled and emitted an extremely powerful kingly aura. It was an aura that was innate to the wolf tribe. It was superior and could not be provoked. The 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings began to tremble, their eyes filled with fear. The moonhowl wolf stood in the air, looking down at the 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings. There seemed to be a hint of displeasure in its eyes. Woo-woo! The 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings were finally afraid. They crawled on the ground and whimpered like 2 domestic puppies. Tamed? Lu Ming was overjoyed. The moon-howling heavenly wolf let out an angry roar. The 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings suddenly trembled and actually stood up shakily. They crawled to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's side and lay down obediently. It's true, Lu Ming muttered. He was overjoyed. He moved and rode on the back of one of the crimson blood-scaled wolf kings. The crimson blood-scaled wolf king did not resist and behaved obediently. On the other side, Xian Yanqing also rode on the other crimson blood-scaled wolf king. That one was also obedient. Lu Ming took a glance and discovered that Xian Yanqing's wolf was a female while Lu Ming's wolf was a male. It was no wonder there were 2 wolf kings. Haha, Xiaoqing, a male and a female. They make a pair just like you and me. Lu Ming laughed. Who's a pair with you? Dream on. Xian Yanqing snorted and rolled his eyes at Lu Ming. Lu Ming grinned. He was just joking and did not take it to heart. At this moment, the moonhowl wolves howled in the air and turned into 2 rays of light again. They fell into Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's bodies and disappeared. The powerful pressure between heaven and earth also disappeared. The 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings growled and stood up. However, they did not go crazy and did not resist. They seemed to have been completely tamed. Maybe Xian Yanqing and I still have the aura of the moonhowl wolves on us. That's why we can tame these 2 wolf kings. Lu Ming guessed. He patted the crimson blood-scaled wolf king and said, "Call all your subordinates and follow me." The 2 crimson blood-scaled wolf kings were very obedient. They let out 2 long howls that spread for dozens of miles. The other crimson blood-scaled wolves howled and gathered from all directions. In the end, the surroundings were densely packed with crimson blood-scaled wolves. There were so many of them that one could not see the end of it. So many? Lu Ming was stunned. Then he was overjoyed. Lu Ming took a closer look and discovered that there were more than 8,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves all over the mountains. Most of them were LV2 demonic beasts. A small portion were LV3 demonic beasts. There were even dozens of LV4 demonic beasts. LV4 demonic beasts were equivalent to martial ancestor realm martial artists. I'm rich, I'm rich. Lu Ming roared in his heart. What are you so happy about? Don't forget that it's all thanks to me that we can tame the crimson blood-scaled wolves. If it were you, you would have run away, coward. Xian Yanqing curled his lips and said disdainfully. Yes, it's all thanks to you. Lu Ming was in a good mood and did not argue with Xian Yanqing. You lost the bet this time. You won't go back on your word, right? Xian Yanqing said. Hey, I also contributed to the taming of the Wolf King. How can it be considered my loss? Lu Ming said. What contribution? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have had the chance to tame the Wolf King. Are you trying to go back on your word? If you go back on your word, I'll spread the news of you going back on your word in the camp. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth. In the end, Lu Ming could only compromise and agree to Xian Yanqing's condition. What condition? Say it. As long as I can do it, I won't refuse. Lu Ming said. It's not time yet. When the time comes, I'll tell you. Xian Yanqing smiled slyly and rode away on the crimson blood-scaled Wolf King. Lu Ming followed on the Wolf King. Chapter 308. On the grassland 2,000 miles away, Ming Meng, Huaying, and the others were waiting anxiously. Why hasn't the general returned after so long? Could something have happened? Gao Li frowned. I don't think so. With the general's cultivation, he should be able to escape even if he can't defeat those below the martial ancestor realm. Huaying said. However, there was a worried look in his eyes. Ever since they had pledged allegiance to Lu Ming, they had been thinking for Lu Ming. Ming Ming, Miangcheng, and the others were also anxious as they looked in the direction that Lu Ming and the others had left. Rumble. At that moment, the ground started to shake as if thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping. Ming Ming's face changed and he shouted, "Oh no, there's a large group of demonic beasts coming. This is a beast tide. Listen to my orders, get into formation and prepare for battle." As soon as he finished speaking, the 3,000 guards that Ming Ming had brought with him got into formation and drew their longbows, ready for a bloody battle. Rumble. The shaking became more and more violent as if there were many huge creatures galloping. Ming Ming and the others looked more and more serious. Ow! Ow! At that moment, loud wolf howls came from the depths of the plateau and pierced through the clouds. Oh no, that's the howls of the crimson blood-scaled wolves. Why are there so many of them? Where are Brother Tianyun and the others? Ming Ming shouted. The others were also shocked. They did not know how many crimson blood-scaled wolves there were, but they were sure that they did not have enough people. How could they fight? Retreat, retreat. Let's rush back to Full Moon City first. Ming Ming shouted. Let's go. They turned their horses around and rushed back. Ah, that's the general and Miss Xian Yanqing. Suddenly a loud shout sounded. It came from a youth in the Star Cluster Hall. What? Ming Ming and the others hurriedly looked in that direction. At the end of the ground there was a boundless red color. From afar, it looked like a fiery red sunset. Upon closer look it was not a sunset. It was clearly a crimson blood-scaled wolf with a strong physique. As far as the eye could see, the ground was filled with crimson blood-scaled wolves. They covered the sky and covered the earth as an extremely dense baleful aura filled the air. Some of the more timid people's calves began to tremble. In front of the endless horde of crimson blood-scale wolves, there were two of the tallest crimson blood-scale wolves. There was a person sitting on each of the two scarlet bloods. It was Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. It's really Brother Tianyun and Miss Xie, but what's going on? Why are they riding on the crimson blood-scale wolves? Ming Ming was dumbfounded. Could it be that General and the others are being chased by crimson blood-scale wolves? Impossible? The two crimson blood-scale wolves they are riding seem to have the strongest aura, but they aren't resisting. Could it be that they have already tamed them? Tamed? That's impossible, right? Hua Ying and some other young experts were discussing among themselves. At this moment, the crimson blood-scale wolf king that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were riding on let out two roars. Then the horde of crimson blood-scale wolves gradually slowed down. Finally they began to walk slowly towards Ming Ming and the others. This is the crimson blood-scale wolf king? Could it be that the crimson blood-scale wolf king has been tamed? How is that possible? Ming Ming's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open in disbelief. Those who were originally from Full Moon City also widened their eyes and mouths as they stared blankly. At this moment, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were not far away. Brother Tianyun, you tamed these two crimson blood-scale wolf kings? Ming Ming asked in a daze. Aha, Brother Ming Ming, I was lucky to succeed. We chased after the previous two, but we didn't expect to run into the crimson blood-scale wolf king's lair. We were lucky to have tamed these two crimson blood-scale wolf kings, so we asked the wolf king to order all the crimson blood-scale wolves to be brought here. Lu Ming explained. Lucky? Ming Ming's lips were trembling and one of his hands was tugging at his beard. Until now he was still in shock as if he was in a dream. The 3,000 guards he brought were not any better. They all thought they were dreaming. Taming the crimson blood-scale wolf king? But no one had ever heard of anyone succeeding. Now, Lu Ming had succeeded as soon as he came, and even brought back a nest of crimson blood-scale wolves. Brother Tianyun is invincible. Ming Peak reacted quickly and shouted. Then he ran to Lu Ming's side and said, Brother Tianyun, can you give me a crimson blood-scale wolf as a mount? After a few days of hesitation, Miangcheng and his siblings decided to be friends with Lu Ming, regardless of how their father and Lu Ming addressed him. Otherwise they would really have to call him Uncle Lu Ming. Of course you can choose one yourself. Lu Ming smiled. Thank you so much, Brother Tianyun. Ming Peak was overjoyed. He immediately picked a Class 3 LV6 Crimson Blood-Scale Wolf and rode on it. As soon as Ming Peak rode on it, the Crimson Blood-Scale Wolf let out a furious roar. At this moment, Lu Ming patted the Wolf King that he was riding and the Wolf King let out a loud roar. Immediately the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf became obedient and whined. Ren Mingfeng rode on it. Let's go. Ming Peak patted the Crimson Blood-Scale Wolf, and it immediately roared and rushed out like a gust of wind. After a while it ran back. Awesome, this is awesome. Ming Peak laughed. This made the others unable to stand it. General, give me one. Hua Ying shouted. General, I want one too. The other young men shouted. You can choose one yourselves. Lu Ming waved his hand and said. Hua Ying and the others were overjoyed. They were all martial arts grandmasters, so they naturally chose Class 4 mounts. Hua Ying picked a Class 4 LV4, which was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster realm LV4. The others also picked suitable mounts. For a moment, the wolves howled and the red light leaped on the grassland. They were all trying out their new mounts. This is awesome. This is a real mount. With a mount like this, killing enemies will be as easy as pie. Hua Ying and the others laughed. Ming Ming looked on enviously. With his status, he was too embarrassed to ask Lu Ming for one. Brother Ming Ming, this one is for you. Lu Ming waved his hand and a tall and burly crimson blood-scale wolf came forward, exuding a powerful aura. This was a Class 4 LV5 crimson blood-scale wolf, second only to the two wolf kings in the wolf pack. Brother Tianyun, how can I accept this? Although he said that, his eyes were fixed on the crimson blood-scale wolf, and he could not move his eyes away. Brother Ming Ming, why are you being so polite with me? Take it and ride it. Lu Ming said with a smile. Okay, then I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Ming was overjoyed. He hurriedly jumped on the crimson blood-scale wolf and controlled it to run a big circle. The smile on his face could not fade. Let's go back to the barracks. Lu Ming waved his hand and said. Instantly, more than 8,000 crimson blood-scale wolves followed Lu Ming and the others to the barracks of Moonview City. Along the way, Ming Ming's 3,000 guards looked at the crimson blood-scale wolves with envy. Chapter 309. When Lu Ming and the others returned to Full Moon City, it naturally caused a huge commotion. The entire Full Moon City was shaken. The 100,000 mountain suppression army was even more shocked and envious. As for Lu Ming's 18,000 troops, they were extremely excited. They knew that the crimson blood-scaled wolves would definitely be assigned to them. Sure enough, from the next day onwards, Lu Ming began to select 8,000 of the strongest soldiers from the 18,000 troops and assigned each of them a crimson blood-scaled wolf. In this army of 8,000, everyone's cultivation was at least at the 9th level of the martial warrior realm. Among them, 2,000 were at the martial master realm and about 100 were at the great martial master realm. 8,000 people formed a crimson blood-scaled wolf cavalry. Those who were assigned the crimson blood-scaled wolves were elated and excited. A powerful mount meant that their battle prowess was stronger. On the battlefield, not only did they have a higher chance of survival, but they also had a higher chance of killing the enemy and making contributions. All of them were extremely grateful to Lu Ming. Many of them even secretly swore to follow Lu Ming to death. As for those who were not assigned the crimson blood-scaled wolves, although they were envious, they were not jealous. They knew that the reason why they were not assigned the crimson blood-scaled wolves was because their cultivation was not enough. And Lu Ming was a peerless genius whose name shook the Blazing Sun Empire. His future was limitless. They secretly swore to follow Lu Ming well and cultivate diligently. There would be benefits sooner or later. Lu Ming did not expect that this move would make the army under him trust him even more. It also made him more prestigious. 2 days later. Rumble. On the prairie, a crimson blood-scaled wolf cavalry whistled past like a gust of wind. Their aura was earth-shattering and stirred up the wind and clouds. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rode at the front. The wind whistled and hit their faces, but the light in Lu Ming's eyes became brighter and brighter. As a man, what could make one's blood boil more than leading an iron-blooded army and making contributions on the battlefield with a beauty beside him? Brr, brr. The howls of wolves could be heard as the 8,000 cavalrymen whistled through the air. On the grassland, when the other demonic beasts saw this, they all ran away madly, not daring to stop for even a moment. In the distance, Ming Meng and his army watched in shock. In the face of such power, most of the mountain-crushing army were terrified. Who can stop such an army? Ming Meng sighed. It's a pity that there are only 8,000 of them. Moreover, the cultivation base of each knight is too low. Otherwise, they might have become a special force to fight against the Moon Empire. Beside Ming Meng, a deputy general sighed. That's right. The Moon Empire's Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Legion and Grey Wolf Legion each have 100,000 soldiers. If they all attack together, Tianyun's 8,000 red blood cavalrymen will be no match for them. Another deputy general sighed. Don't ask for too much. 8,000 Wuxia armored cavalry is equivalent to 100,000 ordinary soldiers. For my Moon City this is a great thing. Ming Ming said. In the next few days the Moon Empire didn't make any moves. Lu Ming took the red blood-scaled wolves to practice on the grassland. He wanted to get the soldiers and their mounts to know each other better. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. The 8,000 soldiers and the red blood-scaled wolves were getting along well. On the 6th day a message suddenly came. The Northern Army, which was 3,000 miles away from the Moon City, sent an urgent message asking for help from the mountain-crushing army. They were under attack from the Moon Empire. General Ming, it's urgent. I will take the red blood cavalrymen to ask for help first. In the big tent of the military camp, Lu Ming and Ming Meng were discussing this matter. Lu Ming directly proposed to take the red blood cavalrymen to help first. The Northern Army was another powerful army of the royal family in the north. It and the mountain-crushing army complemented each other. Once the Northern Army was destroyed, the mountain-crushing army would be in danger too. Therefore, when the Northern Army was in danger, they had to help. The red blood cavalrymen were the fastest, so they were the most suitable ones to go first. All right. Brother Tianyun, go first. The Northern Army will follow. Ming Ming said. After a while, the red blood cavalrymen rushed out of the camp like the wind, heading for the Northern Army's North City. The red blood cavalrymen only needed 4 hours to travel 3,000 miles. The red blood cavalrymen could travel tens of thousands of miles in a day. When Lu Ming and the others arrived at a grassland 100 miles away from the Northern Army, they saw countless people fighting. There were at least hundreds of thousands of people fighting together. Their shouts shook the sky. Grey Wolf Army, Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Army. Lu Ming saw 2 armies in the Moon Army, each with about 10,000 people. They were extremely powerful and were fiercely attacking the Northern Army. The Northern Army had about 60 or 70,000 people. They were surrounded by the Moon Empire's army and were constantly attacking. The smell of blood filled the grassland. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. He and Xian Yinqing rode in the front, rushing towards the Grey Wolf Army. How? Apparently the Grey Wolf Army had also noticed Lu Ming and the others. They gathered their forces and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. However, halfway through the charge, the Grey Wolf Army let out a terrified cry. What is that? Oh my God! Are those red blood scale wolves? How is that possible? They are red blood scale wolves. They are an army of red blood scale wolves. Countless people in the Grey Wolf Army looked forward in fear. How? The red blood scale wolves roared. Their eyes turned red as they rushed forward. Howl! The Grey Wolf cavalrymen's mounts started to howl in fear and slowed down. Damn it! Go! Don't be afraid. The general of the Grey Wolf Army roared. He cut the wolf's skin with his saber and made it bleed. The others did the same. They all cut the wolf's skin. The wounded wolf became even more ferocious. It suppressed its fear and rushed towards the red blood cavalrymen. Kill! Destroy the Grey Wolf Army. Lu Ming shouted. His voice was full of killing intent. The first army he had encountered was the Grey Wolf Army. In that battle they had ambushed the Grey Wolf Army. They had the advantage in numbers and had lost 2,000 men. Lu Ming was still brooding over that. Now that he saw the other Grey Wolf Army, he was naturally filled with killing intent. Kill! The other red blood cavalrymen felt the same as Lu Ming. They all roared and rushed forward. Bang! The two armies finally clashed. However, the seemingly powerful Grey Wolf Army was as weak as tofu in front of the red blood cavalrymen. The moment the two armies clashed, the Grey Wolf Army was torn in half. Miserable cries filled the air. How? The red blood scale wolves were extremely ferocious. They roared and slashed out with their claws, tearing the Grey Wolf cavalrymen and their wolves in half. In a short moment, the Grey Wolf Army's formation had been torn in half by the red blood cavalrymen. It was a mess and thousands of corpses were left behind. Kill! Lu Ming turned around. The 8,000 red blood cavalrymen followed him and charged towards the remaining Grey Wolf Army. This was a battle without any suspense. The difference in strength was too great. It was a one-sided slaughter. Run! Save me! Don't kill me! Run! Chapter 310. Devour. Lu Ming manipulated the 9 dragons' bloodline, and a terrifying devouring force was attached to his left palm. His left palm was like a black hole and Lu Ming devoured the essence blood. Wherever he went, regardless of whether it was the blood essence of humans or the blood essence of the ash wolf, They were all devoured and refined. This time, Lu Ming used half of his essence blood to increase his cultivation. Although the Grey Wolf cavalry was not strong individually, they had the advantage in numbers. His cultivation base was slowly rising. Kill. Kill. The Red Blood cavalry's battle cries shook the sky. They kept reaping the lives of the Grey Wolf cavalry. The battle on the other side was alerted by the noise. The Grey Wolf cavalry is about to be destroyed. Our reinforcements are here. The Northern Battlefront army shouted. The Inmun Empire's army was shocked. Send reinforcements to the Grey Wolf cavalry. Quick! A general roared. All of a sudden, a group of 20,000 ordinary cavalry charged toward Lu Ming and the rest. Kill! Kill them all! Lu Ming roared and dashed toward the 20,000-strong army. The other Red Blood cavalry followed him. The 10,000 Grey Wolf cavalry were almost wiped out. Only a few hundred of them were left. They were running away in fear. The Wuxia armored cavalry once again formed into a sharp knife formation and rushed towards the enemy. This time it was even more one-sided. The 20,000 Grey Wolf cavalry were defeated as soon as they came into contact. The Red Blood scaled wolves roared and the enemy's mounts trembled. Their fighting strength was greatly reduced. The Red Blood scaled wolves waved their claws and tore apart several cavalrymen. They could not resist at all. It was still a massacre. Reinforcements. Send the signal. Ask for reinforcements. An exasperated shout came from the Inmun Empire's army. Following that, streaks of smoke and fire flew up into the sky, forming multiple moons. The fierce battle continued. The Crimson Blood Scale Wolf entered the battlefield for the first time, displaying its unparalleled battle prowess. Facing enemies several times its size, it easily tore apart the enemy's battle formation and slaughtered the enemy's cavalry. Corpses were everywhere. Corpses were everywhere. During the battle, Lu Ming's cultivation broke through and reached the middle stage of the second martial Grandmaster realm. Rumble. Not long after, a deafening tremor resounded between heaven and earth. In the distance, tiger roars came from the Crimson Moon demonic tigers. The army of Crimson Moon demonic tigers was rushing toward them. There were 20,000 Crimson Moon demonic tigers. Together with the previous 10,000 Crimson Moon demonic tigers, there were 30,000 of them. Kill. Kill that Red Blood scaled wolf cavalry. The Crimson Moon demonic tigers were led by a general in Red Blood cavalry. He was strong blood scaled wolf holding a mace. What a powerful aura. This is the aura of the 7th level martial ancestor realm. Blood scaled wolves was Red Blood tiger cavalry. Kill. Without hesitation, Lu Ming led the 8,000 Red Blood Iron Cavalry and charged toward the 20,000 Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Legion. The two armies drew closer and closer to each other. Die, brat! The blood-armored general roared and smashed the mace in his hand toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! The mace smashed through the air, causing the space to tremble violently. Golden Eye! Lu Ming's mind flickered, and the golden-eyed blood zombie beside him roared and charged towards the crimson-armored man. Boom! Boom! The golden-eyed blood zombie and the blood-armored general were locked in a fierce battle. Whoosh! Lu Ming thrust out his spear, the power of wind and fire fusing and erupting. Bang! A 5th martial ancestor realm expert had his heart pierced by Lu Ming's spear and fell to the ground. Lu Ming rushed over and devoured his essence blood, refining it with extreme speed. Following that, the spear swept out and a 100-meter-long spear light swept out. Dozens of Blood Moon Devil Tiger cavalry were blown apart, and their flesh and armor fragments scattered all over the ground. Kill. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. The battle was incomparably fierce. Boom. Boom. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and attacked the blood-armored general without fear of death. For a moment, the blood-armored general was at a complete disadvantage. Beast Dao Palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and a huge beast palm flew towards the blood-armored general. Great demonic palm print. Not far away, Xian Yinqing also struck out a few palms, and a pitch-black palm print flew towards the blood-armored general. Bang! Bang! Although the blood-armored general was fierce, he could not withstand the ferocious attacks of the golden-eyed blood zombie. In addition, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were besieging him. His body shook violently, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood as he retreated quickly. Chi. However, the golden-eyed blood zombie would not miss this opportunity. He pounced on the blood-armored general, and his fingernails were sharper than sabers. In an instant, he tore the blood-armored general's armor into pieces. Lu Ming rushed forward and devoured the blood-armored general's essence blood. This was the essence blood of a 7th martial ancestor realm martial artist, and it was shocking. Lu Ming continued to refine it, and his cultivation level began to rise rapidly. The general has been killed. Someone in the Blood Moon Devil Tiger Cavalry shouted. The commander of the Blood Moon Devil Tiger Cavalry had been killed, and their morale had plummeted. On the other hand, the Red Blood Cavalry's morale had soared. General Tianyun is invincible. General Tianyun is invincible. The Red Blood Cavalry roared as they charged towards the enemy. Slowly, the Crimson Blood Fiend Tiger army began to crumble. In a battle, victory and defeat were decided by a hair's breadth. Once they collapsed, they would be defeated like a landslide. Kill. The Red Blood Cavalry's eyes were bloodshot as they charged towards the enemy. Hold on, hold on. The Deputy General of the Blood Moon Devil Tiger Cavalry roared. He tried to hold on and turn the tide, but it was all in vain. The Blood Moon Devil Tiger Cavalry was doomed. Boom, boom. In the distance there were explosions in the sky. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he looked in that direction. There was also an intense battle going on in the sky a few miles away. That was the battlefield of the experts because the people fighting there were all experts of the martial ancestor realm and above. There were 40 to 50 people fighting in the sky. Lu Ming discovered that there were experts of the Mystic Essence Sword sect and the Ghost Moon Saber sect. The others were undoubtedly experts of the Yin Moon Empire. That's Autumn Moon. In the crowd, Lu Ming suddenly saw a familiar figure. It was Autumn Moon. Obviously, after not seeing him for such a long time, Autumn Moon had reached the martial ancestor realm. Huaying, I'll leave the Red Blood Cavalry to you for the time being. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's shout could be heard from afar. Huaying was startled. Although he did not understand the reason, he immediately replied, yes. On the battlefield, one only needed to obey. Good, I'll leave the Red Blood Cavalry to you, Lu Ming said. There was no suspense in the battle here. Huaying was well versed in the art of commanding, so Lu Ming was relieved to leave it to him. Gold Eye, let's go. Lu Ming moved and leaped from the crimson blood-scaled Wolf King's body, flying toward the distant sky. The Gold Eye Blood Zombie followed closely behind Lu Ming. They covered the distance of a few miles in an instant. Who's there? Chapter 311. I'm here to kill you. Lu Ming could not be bothered to talk to him as he stabbed out with his spear. Fiery Wind Kill. The man was only of martial ancestor realm 3 and was unable to defend himself against Lu Ming's attack. He was killed by the spear in the air. Then Lu Ming looked around and analyzed the situation. Most of the experts of the Burning Sun Empire were from the Mystic Essence Sword sect and the Ghost Moon Saber sect. It was obvious that they were at a disadvantage. High up in the sky there was a loud explosion and a powerful aura came down. It was the aura of a martial ancestor realm 7 martial artist. Not far away, Autumn Moon was wearing a white dress. She exuded an extremely cold aura. When she waved her hand, the cold aura froze everything. After not seeing her for a while, Autumn Moon was even more beautiful. Her curves were graceful and her figure was even more voluptuous. However, her beautiful face was extremely cold. It was even colder than the aura she exuded. Judging from the aura on Autumn Moon's body, Autumn Moon had reached the early stages of martial ancestor realm 2. Even Lu Ming was shocked by her cultivation progress. Her opponent was a martial ancestor realm 3 expert. However, he was completely suppressed by Autumn Moon. Absolute frost. Autumn Moon shouted. She waved her hands and an endless amount of cold aura surged. Her opponent roared, but in the next moment, he was turned into an ice sculpture. Autumn Moon slapped out and the ice sculpture shattered into pieces. A martial ancestor realm 3 martial artist had been easily killed by Autumn Moon. Little bitch, you're courting death. At that moment, a sharp sound was heard and a bright sword radiance shot towards Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon's face changed. Her body flashed quickly and she managed to dodge the sword radiance. With a flash of light, a white-haired old man appeared in front of Autumn Moon. He looked at Autumn Moon coldly. Little bitch, die. The old man shouted coldly. His sword radiance flashed and he charged towards Autumn Moon. Martial Ancestor Realm 5. The old man had a cultivation of Martial Ancestor Realm 5. His sword radiance was bright and sharp. In an instant he had completely suppressed Autumn Moon. Rise. Autumn Moon shouted. Her body flashed with a blood-red light, and a humanoid figure with blurry facial features appeared. This figure was incomparably cold, as if it was completely made of ice. At the same time, 5 silver chakras flashed across this figure. However, it was still seen by Lao O and Lu Ming. Level 5 King Class Bloodline. The second bloodline awakened by Autumn Moon was actually a level 5 King Class bloodline. Lu Ming was shocked. But on second thought he felt that it was normal. The first bloodline of Autumn Moon was originally a very powerful natural type ice bloodline among the special bloodlines. Its level was as high as level 8. It was normal for the second bloodline to be powerful. However, Oldo was frightened. Then he roared with a ferocious expression, "Die, die, I will not let you live in this world." Amidst the screams, the terrifying sword chi surged towards Autumn Moon. After activating her bloodline, Autumn Moon's combat strength had increased tremendously. Although she was still at a disadvantage, she would not be defeated for a while. However, at this moment, a black-robed figure appeared not far away from Autumn Moon. He stared coldly at Autumn Moon. Die. Suddenly, the black-robed man attacked. A jet-black sword radiance pierced towards Autumn Moon. He was also a level 5 martial ancestor realm cultivation. "You are the one who will die." When the black-robed man appeared, Lu Ming had already rushed over. At this moment he shouted coldly and swept out his spear. Clang. The long spear hit the black-robed man's long sword. The long sword shook violently and almost exploded. "Who is it?" The black-robed man's body shook violently and he retreated quickly. "The one who will kill you." Lu Ming stepped out and charged towards the black-robed man. Boom. On the long spear, the power of wind and fire was entwined, causing the long spear to move at an extremely fast speed. Bam. The black-robed man's body was swept by the spear. He screamed in pain and his body exploded. Now, Lu Ming only needed one move to kill a level 5 martial ancestor realm cultivation. The 9 dragons' bloodline circulated and devoured the opponent's essence blood. Suddenly Lu Ming's body shook. His cultivation had broken through again. He had reached the late stage of level 2 martial ancestor realm. The essence blood he had devoured was too rich and there was still a large portion that he had not refined. Kill? With the breakthrough in his cultivation, Lu Ming's combat strength was even stronger. In a flash, he appeared beside Elder O, who was fighting with Autumn Moon. He stabbed out with his spear and the spear radiance was like lightning. Elder O screamed in horror and tried to dodge. However, everything was in vain. In the next moment, a large hole appeared in his chest. Killing with one spear. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and looked like a god of war. "You?" Autumn Moon looked at Lu Ming and her heart trembled. She did not know why, but when she saw Lu Ming she felt that he was extremely familiar. Although his body shape and appearance were completely different, she was all too familiar with his temperament. For a moment she was stunned. "What? Little girl, don't you recognize your young master?" Lu Ming came to Autumn Moon's side and smiled. Hearing this, Autumn Moon's body trembled. Her beautiful eyes suddenly widened as she stared straight at Lu Ming. Young master? Is it really you? Is it really you?" Chiao Yu's eyes were misty and tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke emotionally. "Little girl, if it's not me, who else could it be?" Lu Ming stretched out his finger and scratched the tip of Autumn Moon's white nose. Autumn Moon was so emotional that her body trembled. Tears streamed down her face as she said, young master, Autumn Moon has finally found young master." If it were not for the fact that they were fighting, she would have jumped into Lu Ming's arms. Back then, she was brought to a secret place by her master to cultivate in seclusion. Her cultivation progress was extremely terrifying. However, when she ended her cultivation and returned to the Mystic Essence Sword sect, she heard a shocking piece of news. Lu Ming killed his way into the White Tiger Hall and killed many people from the Duanmu family. In the end, the Duanmu family forced him to leave the Mystic Essence Sword sect and disappear without a trace. This news was like a bolt from the blue to Autumn Moon. If it were not for her master stopping her, she would have killed her way into the White Tiger Hall. During this period of time she had traveled far and wide, but there was no news about Lu Ming. If it were not for her master's kindness, she would have left the Mystic Essence Sword sect on her own accord. This time, she followed the experts of the Mystic Essence Sword sect to support the Ghost Moon Saber sect. One reason was to gain experience and the other was to find Lu Ming. She wanted to try her luck and see if she could get any news about Lu Ming. She never expected that Lu Ming would suddenly appear beside her. One could only imagine the excitement in her heart. "Silly girl, why are you crying? It's more important to kill the enemy first. After we kill the enemy we can have a good chat." Lu Ming stretched out his hand to wipe away Autumn Moon's tears. Yes, young master. Autumn Moon's tears turned into smiles. Her face revealed a smile that was even more brilliant than flowers. At this time you still have the mood to be intimate with each other? Let this old man send the two of you on your way to the underworld to be intimate. Suddenly a dry and hoarse voice rang out. A skinny and gloomy old man appeared not far away and looked at the two of them with a cold smile. His body emitted a powerful aura. Chapter 312. The golden-eyed blood zombie growled and stood in front of the old man. The old man looked at the golden-eyed blood zombie with fear. The reason why he did not launch a sneak attack was because of the golden-eyed blood zombie. Old man, you're the one who's going to die. Golden-eyed, go. Lu Ming growled. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and pounced on the old man. Swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, two figures appeared behind Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. As soon as they appeared, they turned into two slender and sharp sword radiances and stabbed toward Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. Their speed was shocking and the sword radiances were sharp and indestructible. The two sneak attackers were at the peak of the sixth realm of the martial ancestor realm and their auras were similar. When they joined forces, their power was multiplied. You're courting death. Lu Ming roared furiously and pulled Autumn Moon. At the same time, 6 ancient shields appeared in front of him. The 6 shields stacked together and blocked in front of him. Poof, poof. Like leather being pierced, the sword radiances of the two sneak attackers were too sharp. The 6 shields were pierced one after another. However, Lu Ming had bought himself some time. His long spear turned into 2 spear radiances and stabbed forward. Clang, clang. The tip of the spear and the sword collided. Lu Ming felt waves of sharp sword chi surging toward him. The wind and fire aura on the tip of the spear were almost scattered. Lu Ming moved and pulled Autumn Moon back quickly. The 2 sneak attackers were also blocked and were forced to retreat. At that moment, Lu Ming saw the 2 figures clearly. These 2 people looked almost exactly the same. They were short and small like monkeys. They were about 40 years old. Damn it, this person can block our attack at such a young age. He's too terrifying. We can't let him live. The 2 short men growled and were shocked. Kill? Swoosh, swoosh. The 2 of them moved and turned into 2 sword radiances. They charged toward Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. They were as fast as lightning and could not be seen with the naked eye. Icebound 10,000 miles. Autumn Moon shouted as her second bloodline appeared. With a wave of her hand, the temperature in front of her plummeted, and a large patch of frost appeared out of nowhere. It was as if even the air itself had frozen. Great success, Ice Force. Lu Ming could tell that the ice force that Autumn Moon comprehended was already at the major success stage. Its power was incomparably powerful. The 2 short men also seemed to be frozen, and their speed was greatly reduced. Damn it! Damn it! The 2 short men roared angrily. Ah, good. Lu Ming laughed heartily as he struck out with both palms. In the sky, 2 huge beast claws condensed and blasted towards the 2 short men. During this period of time, Lu Ming had already cultivated the 3 Dao palms to the 5th level. Its power was close to that of a superior grade earth rank martial skill. It was extremely powerful. As long as Lu Ming comprehended the final Heaven's Path palm, its might would be infinitely close to a Heaven tier martial skill. Boom, boom. 2 beast claws came crashing down like mountains. The 2 short men slashed out streaks of sword chi to block the beast claws. With 2 booming sounds, the 2 of them trembled and quickly retreated. Swoosh. Lu Ming charged forward. His long spear was like a dragon as the spear radiance pierced through the air and blasted towards the 2 short men. Behind him, Autumn Moon waved her hands and ice wheels that were like crescent moons appeared. They slashed towards the 2 short men continuously. It had to be said that the 2 short men were extremely powerful. Their genuine chi was dense and extremely sharp. Their cultivation had reached the peak of martial ancestor realm level 6. When the 2 of them joined forces, they could compete with an ordinary martial ancestor realm level 7. When Lu Ming and Autumn Moon joined forces, they could only fight to a draw. Refine for me. Lu Ming tried his best to refine the essence blood in his body. The essence blood in his body came from a martial ancestor realm level 7 martial artist. There was also the essence blood of a martial ancestor realm level 5 martial artist and a large number of other martial artists. It was extremely rich. At that moment, it was continuously converted into the energy of the 9 dragons bloodline and into Lu Ming's genuine chi. Lu Ming's genuine chi continued to grow. After a while he reached the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm Level 2. However, he did not stop there. He started to break through to Martial Ancestor Realm Level 3. It was not the first time Lu Ming had broken through while fighting. He was familiar with the process. Of course, it was because of the Nine Dragons bloodline. The two short men became more and more frightened as they fought. Firstly, Autumn Moon's cold chi was too shocking. Although her cultivation was much lower than theirs, the cold chi was extremely terrifying. It was as if it could freeze everything. They felt that the genuine chi in their bodies was about to be frozen and their speed slowed down. Of course, the most terrifying one was Lu Ming. His attacks were violent and his strength was shocking. Each of his attacks could destroy a mountain. Each of his attacks forced them to give their all. Furthermore, Lu Ming did not seem to be tired at all. The more he fought, the braver he became. The two of them had the intention to retreat. Come, let's leave first. These two are too terrifying. We'll let the stronger experts kill them. Let's go. The two of them slashed a few times and decided to retreat. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes emitted a brilliant glow as he sneered, "Go? It's too late to leave now." Boom. The aura on Lu Ming's body rose rapidly like an erupting volcano. Third layer Martial Ancestor Realm. Just a moment ago, his cultivation had successfully broken through. After breaking through to the third layer Martial Ancestor Realm, Lu Ming's combat strength rose rapidly again. Oh no, he broke through? One of the short men yelled in disbelief. Demon, he's a demon. Retreat, retreat quickly. The other man yelled crazily as he retreated frantically. However, it was too late. Lu Ming moved like lightning and appeared not far away from him in the blink of an eye. He thrust his spear forward. Poof. It was as if the air had been pierced through. A spear radiance instantly crossed 100 meters and penetrated everything. The short man did not even have time to react before his heart was pierced through by the spear radiance. Buzz. Then Lu Ming held the spear in his hand and threw it out. A spear radiance that was 200 meters long crossed the void and blasted toward the other short man. Break! The short man yelled in horror as he slashed out a shocking sword radiance. However, it was useless. The spear radiance swept past and the sword radiance collapsed. The spear radiance did not stop and struck the short man. Bang! The short man screamed as many bones in his body were broken. His body flew out like a cannonball as blood spurted out from his body. Although he was not dead, he was not far from it. Chiao Yu waved out a crescent-shaped ice wheel, which rushed through the short man's body and cut him in two. Lu Ming rushed past them and devoured their blood essence. The blood essence of two martial artists at the peak of the sixth layer Martial Ancestor Realm was definitely a great supplement. On the other side, the golden-eyed blood zombie was fearless and had completely suppressed his opponent. How is this possible? Seeing that Lu Ming had killed the two short men, the old man could not believe it. Although the two short men were no match for him, they were not to be underestimated. He had thought that it would be more than enough to kill Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. However, he had never expected that they would be killed by Lu Ming. The old man was shocked. It's your turn now. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he moved and stabbed the old man with his spear. Clang. The old man slashed out with his sword and collided with the long spear. However, he was pushed back by a powerful force. How can he be so strong? Chapter 313. The old man was no match for the golden-eyed blood zombie. With the addition of the freakish Lu Ming, he did not dare to continue the fight. He turned and ran. You want to leave? It's not that easy. Lu Ming sneered and chased after him. At the same time, the golden-eyed blood zombie did the same. The white-haired old man was shocked. He flew up into the sky. There were 6 figures, both male and female. Each of them emitted a terrifying aura. The 6 of them were all experts in the Martial Ancestor Realm. There were 3 from the Yin Moon Empire and 3 from the Burning Sun Empire. The 6 of them were fighting fiercely. Seeing the white-haired old man rushing over, the 3 from the Yin Moon Empire were shocked. One of them asked, "Old Lin, why are you back?" The intelligence was wrong this time. There are a few extremely powerful figures. I'm no match for them. Let's retreat quickly. The white-haired old man shouted. Retreat? We're about to win. How can we retreat now? Are you crazy? A burly man roared. Whoosh. At this time, Lu Ming and the golden-eyed blood zombie had already rushed over. The white-haired old man was scared and fled in a hurry. What's there to be afraid of? I'll kill him. That burly man bellowed coldly. The opponent who had retreated with one move was holding a huge saber in his hand. He slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom. The saber radiance slashed down and the space shook violently. "No!" the white-haired old man screamed. But it was too late. Brr. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and rushed forward. He waved his claws and streaks of blood-red light appeared and collided with the saber radiance. Whoosh. Then Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear. The spear radiance, which contained the power of wind and fire, instantly pierced through the saber radiance and headed for the burly man. The big man's pupils suddenly widened, revealing an extremely frightened look. "Retreat! Retreat! Retreat!" the burly man roared. He unleashed all of his genuine chi and physical strength in an attempt to dodge the spear radiance. But it was too late. He avoided his vital parts but was still stabbed in the shoulder by the spear radiance. The burly man's shoulder exploded and one of his arms disappeared. The burly man let out a blood-curdling scream as he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. He had already suffered heavy injuries. Circulating his remaining jinchi, he attempted to flee. "Kill!" Lu Ming shouted. His long spear shook, and the spear light swept out horizontally, whipping the big man's body. The big man screamed in horror and then his body exploded in the air. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed over and devoured the blood essence. "Retreat, retreat quickly!" The white-haired old man was scared out of his wits. The big man, who was no weaker than him, was killed by Lu Ming and the golden-eyed blood zombie in a single exchange. He was so scared that his whole body trembled. He screamed and ran even faster. "Go!" The other two martial arts Grandmaster realm experts from the Yin Moon Empire also turned pale with fright and fled madly. In the blink of an eye, the three of them disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming did not give chase. The reason why he had been able to kill the burly man so easily was not because he was much stronger than the burly man, but because the burly man had been too careless. That was why he had been killed by Lu Ming and the golden-eyed blood zombie. If they were to fight head-on, Lu Ming might not be able to defeat the burly man. "Mr. How should I address you?" At this moment, the three martial arts Grandmaster realm experts from the Burning Sun Empire flew over. They cupped their fists and bowed. At the same time they carefully sized up Lu Ming. After discovering Lu Ming's age they were shocked. "I am Tianyun." Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. From their attire, he could tell that one of them was an expert from the Mystic Essence Sword sect, and the other two were experts from the Ghost Moon Saber sect. "You are Tianyun?" The expert from the Mystic Essence Sword sect was a tall and skinny man in his 50s. At this moment he exclaimed. The two experts from the Ghost Moon Saber sect also looked at Lu Ming in shock. Tianyun's name had spread throughout the Burning Sun Empire. As long as one was a martial artist they would know of him. However, today they realized that Tianyun was even stronger and more amazing than the rumor said. "Seniors, it's more important for us to deal with the enemy first," Lu Ming said. "That's right. Let's go and kill those beasts from the Yin Moon Empire." The tall and skinny man from the Mystic Essence Sword sect roared. Immediately, the four of them rushed to the battlefield of the other martial arts grandmasters. The martial arts grandmasters from the Yin Moon Empire had obviously received the news and fled like the wind. After leaving behind a few lives they all fled. Kill. The other martial arts grandmasters charged towards the battlefield on the ground. Mr. Chiu Moon appeared beside Lu Ming and whispered. Her eyebrows were filled with joy. "Chiu Moon, let's go and kill the enemy together. After the battle we can have a good gathering." Lu Ming smiled and said. Chiu Moon nodded obediently and followed Lu Ming to the battlefield below. There was no suspense on the battlefield below. When Lu Ming left, the 20,000 Crimson Moon demonic tigers of the Yin Moon Empire had already been defeated. After that, the Northern Battlefront Army fought back and attacked the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves from both sides. The Yin Moon Army was completely defeated. When Lu Ming came back, he saw Xian Yanqing leading the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves to chase the defeated Yin Moon Army. Along the way there were corpses everywhere. Whoosh! Lu Ming landed on the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf King. Chiu Moon also landed and sat in front of Lu Ming. The Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf King was huge, more than 6 meters long. It was still very spacious for two people to sit on it. On the other side, Xian Yanqing saw Lu Ming and Chiu Moon sitting in front of Lu Ming. His face darkened and a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. "Run!" The soldiers of the Yin Moon Empire screamed in fear and ran for their lives. However, no matter how fast they were not as fast as the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves. They were killed one by one. The smell of blood filled the air. Suddenly, Lu Ming noticed that the golden-eye blood zombie next to him was emitting a thick bloody light. The bloody chi in the air kept gathering towards the golden-eye blood zombie. The bloody light on the golden-eye blood zombie was getting thicker and thicker. That's right. Blood zombies like to drink blood to increase their strength. The battlefield is their heaven. Lu Ming thought to himself. He was secretly happy. He was happy that the golden-eye blood zombie had become stronger. The slaughter continued. After an hour, everything returned to normal. The Yin Moon Empire had suffered a crushing defeat. Tens of thousands of corpses were left behind. It was a great loss. All of this was because of the arrival of the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves led by Lu Ming. The Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves' power was demonstrated. Dong dong, a troop of horses galloped over and stopped 100 meters in front of Lu Ming. It was the Northern Battlefront Army. Is that General Tianyun in front of us? A big dark-skinned man in his 40s shouted. Yes, I am Tianyun. Lu Ming said. I am Huang Qinlong, the Deputy General of the Northern Battlefront Army. Nice to meet you, General Tianyun. The dark-skinned man cupped his fists. General Huang, please come over for a chat. Lu Ming said. Huang Qinlong nodded and led some people to meet up with Lu Ming. Lu Ming asked Huang Qinlong what had happened. How was the Northern Battlefront Army? The great general was assassinated. Chapter 314. The general of the North Battlefront Army was assassinated by the assassins of the Empire of Yin Moon. Then the army of the Empire of Yin Moon seized the opportunity to attack. The North Battlefront Army was in chaos after the general died. The Empire of Yin Moon seized the chance and broke into the North Battlefront City. They suffered a great loss. The remaining soldiers of the North Battlefront Army tried to break out of the encirclement, but the army of Yin Moon caught up with them. That was the reason for the great battle. Luckily, the superior cultivators of the Ghost Moon Saber sect and the Mystic Essence Sword sect helped them. Otherwise, they would have been defeated. With the help of Lu Ming's army, they were able to turn the tables and defeat the army of Yin Moon. The North Battlefront City has been occupied by the Empire of Yin Moon. They have deployed a great army to guard it. It's too difficult to take it back. Huang Qinlong sighed. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. So that was the case. So, what's your next plan? Lu Ming asked. Huang Qinlong and the other deputy generals looked at each other and nodded. Then they got off their horses and bowed to Lu Ming. If you don't abandon us, we are willing to lead the remaining soldiers of the North Battlefront Army to you. Generals, what are you doing? Stand up and talk. Lu Ming hurried to help Huang Qinlong and the others up. General Tianyun, we are defeated. We have nowhere to go. If you don't take us in, we will be wiped out by the Empire of Yin Moon sooner or later. You are a peerless genius. If you lead us, we will avenge our brothers. Please take us in. Huang Qinlong bowed to him. Okay, I will take you in. Lu Ming pondered for a while and nodded in agreement. Thank you so much, General Tianyun. Huang Qinlong and the others were overjoyed. General's brothers, don't worry. I, Tianyun, swear that I will lead you to kill the Empire of Yin Moon and avenge our brothers. Lu Ming shouted. His voice spread far and reached the ears of every soldier of the North Battlefront Army. General Tianyun is awesome. General Tianyun is invincible. Instantly, the field burst into loud cheers. After a while, the cheers stopped. Then Lu Ming asked Huang Qinlong to count the remaining Northern Battlefront Army. Huang Qinlong accepted the order and left. At this moment, a ray of light flashed across the sky and a figure appeared. It was the tall and thin man from the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Autumn Moon, the battle here is over. Follow me back to the Ghost Moon Saber sect. The lanky man said. Marshal Uncle, you can go back first. I plan to stay in the military camp to train. Autumn Moon said. Stay in the barracks? No. The tall and skinny man's expression changed drastically. Autumn Moon's second bloodline awakening was a terrifying level 5 king class. This was too shocking. She was much stronger than Duanmu Lin. Her future achievements were unimaginable. Only a few of the higher-ups of the Mystic Essence Sword sect knew that Autumn Moon was listed as a key training target. Now that Autumn Moon had to stay in the military camp to train, if anything were to happen, he wouldn't be able to answer to Autumn Moon's master and the other higher-ups. Marshal Uncle, don't worry. I'll be careful. Autumn Moon said. Senior, Miss Autumn Moon will stay in the barracks. Tianyun will do his best to protect her. I won't let her get hurt. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. The tall and skinny man muttered to himself as his mind started to wander. How did Autumn Moon get to know Tianyun? Could it be love at first sight between a hero and a beauty? It's very possible. With Autumn Moon's talent, only a genius like Tianyun is worthy of her. Fine, I'll let her stay. I'll go back and report to Senior and the sect leader to let them decide. Thinking of this, the tall and skinny man bowed slightly and said, since that's the case, I'll have to trouble young Master Tianyun. Senior, don't worry. Lu Ming nodded. Then, the tall and skinny man turned into a ray of light and disappeared. General Tianyun, you're really handsome. You didn't forget to kidnap a little beauty when you're marching to war. What? It's too cold at night. Are you using her to warm your bed? At this time, a faint voice sounded. Xian Yanqing came over riding on the red blood scale wolf. He carefully sized up Qiu Yu and a gloomy look flashed in the depths of his eyes. Ahem, Xiaoqing, what nonsense are you talking about? Lu Ming coughed a few times and then rolled his eyes. He approached Xian Yanqing and said, what's wrong? You sound so sour. Are you jealous? Jealous? You, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I be jealous of you? Dream on. Xian Yanqing's heart skipped a few times and she hurriedly denied it. But her heart beat even faster. That inexplicable feeling in her heart made her a little flustered. When she saw Lu Ming and Qiu Yu together, she felt an inexplicable sourness in her heart. Am I really jealous? No, that's impossible. How could I be jealous of this guy? I just want to trample him under my feet. Yes, that must be it. I will work hard to cultivate and trample him under my feet as soon as possible. Xian Yanqing kept thinking in her heart. She stared at Lu Ming fiercely and gritted her teeth. Lu Ming got goosebumps from her stare. He thought to himself, is this woman crazy? On the side, Autumn Moon looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. No one knew what she was thinking, but she didn't say anything. After a while, Huang Qinlong came to report the number of soldiers. There were 60,160 soldiers in the Northern Battlefront Army. Almost 40,000 of the 100,000 soldiers in the Northern Battlefront Army were killed in one night. It was a great loss. Immediately, Lu Ming led the Red Blood Scale Cavalry and more than 60,000 soldiers to the Moon City. On the way, they met Ming Meng, who was leading the army to rescue them. After knowing the situation of the Northern Battlefront Army, Ming Meng sighed. They returned to the Moon City the same way they came. After returning to the Moon City, Lu Ming asked Hua Ying to reorganize the Northern Battlefront Army. He hid in the Temple of Paragon and started to refine the Essence Blood. Although he had refined a part of the Essence Blood, there was still a lot left. The energy of the Essence Blood was turned into genuine Qi. Lu Ming's cultivation kept increasing. After refining all the Essence Blood in the Nine Dragon bloodline, his cultivation reached the late stage of the Martial Ancestor realm. He was only one step away from the peak of the Martial Ancestor realm. After breaking through to the Martial Ancestor realm, he had killed a Martial Ancestor realm 7 expert. However, the Essence Blood of the Martial Ancestor realm 7 expert didn't help him increase his cultivation by much. After refining the Essence Blood, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and helped Hua Ying reorganize the Northern Battlefront Army. 2 days later, the Northern Battlefront Army was reorganized. Lu Ming had almost 80,000 soldiers under his command. His strength had increased greatly. However, Lu Ming still wasn't satisfied. After this battle, Lu Ming found the weakness of the Red Blood Scale Wolf Army. Although the Red Blood Scale Wolf Army was powerful, most of them relied on their mounts and Red Blood Scale Wolves. The soldiers' cultivation was too weak and it was difficult for them to use the full strength of the Red Blood Scale Wolf Army. Moreover, there were too few of them. There were originally 8,000 of them, but they had lost 500 to 600 in this battle. Their numbers had decreased by a lot. I have to think of a way to increase the soldiers' cultivation. Also, I have to capture more Red Blood Scale Wolves. Lu Ming thought. Chapter 315. If he could have 30,000 Crimson Blood Scale Wolves and 30,000 Martial Master Realm Warriors to form an army, it would be truly terrifying. It would become an invincible army. Lu Ming shook his head with a smile. It was just a thought. It was too difficult to realize. Crimson Blood Scale Wolves were easy, but 30,000 Martial Master Realm Warriors were too difficult. Now, including the 60,000 Northern Battlefront Army, Lu Ming had less than 5,000 Martial Master Realm Warriors under his command. Unless it was a force like the 5 Great Sections. For example, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, besides the young disciples, there were many warriors over 30 years old. The total number of Martial Master Realm warriors might be more than 100,000. But that was the result of years of accumulation. In the past few days there was no movement in the Yin Moon army. It seemed that after the battle the Yin Moon army needed to rest. Hence, Lu Ming led the Red Blood Iron Horse into the depths of the plateau to capture the Red Blood Scaled Wolves. Lu Ming rode on the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf and rushed forward. On the side, Xian Yinqing rode on another Crimson Blood Scale Wolf and followed closely. On the other side, Autumn Moon also rode on a Crimson Blood Scale Wolf and followed. Seeing Lu Ming, Autumn Moon was in a good mood. She had a bright smile on her face every day. She followed Lu Ming all day just like the little maid she used to be. Xian Yinqing gritted his teeth and muttered that Lu Ming was a pervert, which made Lu Ming smile bitterly. The Crimson Blood Scale Wolf army roared and marched into the depths of the wilderness. Lu Ming let the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf lead the way. After a few hours they arrived at a huge valley. Wolf howls came from the valley. Then Crimson Blood Scale Wolves appeared one after another. There are more. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Obviously this was another group of Crimson Blood Scale Wolves. A huge wolf howl sounded, and a huge Crimson Blood Scaled Wolf with a fiendish aura walked out. This Crimson Blood Scale Wolf, whether it was its size or aura, was not inferior to the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf King that Lu Ming was riding. Clearly this was the king of the Crimson Blood Scale Wolves. The Crimson Blood Scale Wolf Kings under Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing began to howl. They seemed to be communicating with the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf King. After howling for a while, the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf King growled at Lu Ming. Its eyes were filled with doubt and then a provocative light. Looks like strength is the only thing that matters. Lu Ming smiled faintly and pounced on the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf King. The Crimson Blood Scaled Wolf King also pounced forward. One man and one wolf engaged in a fierce battle. Half an hour later, when Lu Ming continued his journey, there were more than 5,000 Crimson Blood Scale Wolves behind him. This was the number of Crimson Blood Scale Wolves in the previous pack. The Crimson Blood Scale Wolf King had become Qiu Yu's mount. However, Lu Ming was still not satisfied. He continued his search on the plateau. There were countless Crimson Blood Scale Wolves in the plateau. They had lived here for countless years. In 3 days, Lu Ming found 5 packs of Crimson Blood Scale Wolves. The strongest pack of Crimson Blood Scale Wolves had more than 10,000 wolves. The weakest pack only had 2,000 wolves. Through the 2 Crimson Blood Scale Wolf Kings at the beginning, Lu Ming's strength, and Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing's Howling Moon Wolf King's aura, these Crimson Blood Scale Wolves were subdued one by one. Suddenly, the number of Crimson Blood Scale Wolves under Lu Ming's command exceeded 30,000, reaching a total of 32,000. At this point, Lu Ming had to stop. Deeper into the plateau, the beasts that appeared were too strong. Some of them were Class 8 LV4, and some were even Class 9 LV4. If Lu Ming and the rest continued, they would suffer great losses. However, 30,000 Crimson Blood Scale Wolves were enough. Immediately, Lu Ming brought the Crimson Blood Scale Wolves back to Full Moon City. Needless to say, it caused a tsunami-like commotion. The Mountain Suppression Army was envious, while the former Northern Battlefront Army that had sided with Lu Ming was ecstatic. Lu Ming was not stingy. He gave a few hundred Crimson Blood Scale Wolves to Ming Meng. As for the rest, Lu Ming selected 30,000 of the strongest men to form a Crimson Blood Scale Wolf Cavalry. There were 31,000 of them. 1,000 of them were called the Crimson Blood Guards. They were the strongest and the most elite. They were Lu Ming's guards. The other 30,000 formed an army. Lu Ming temporarily handed them over to Hua Ying to manage and train. Hua Ying's mount was also changed to a Crimson Blood Scale Wolf King. It was easier to manage. Lu Ming was happy to be able to relax. Other than occasionally sparring with Autumn Moon, he spent most of his time cultivating. In the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. He had just refined a few hundred spiritual herbs and cultivated the 10,000 spirit battle form to increase his physical strength. At this moment he stopped cultivating. The 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps is really difficult to cultivate. It's been so many days but I still haven't mastered the first step. However, I feel that I've gained some insights recently. As long as I continue to comprehend, I'll master it sooner or later. There's also the 3rd palm of the 3 Dao palms, the Heavenly Path palm. I don't have any clue about it either. If I can master it, it'll definitely be my trump card. Lu Ming pondered. Now, cultivating the true dragon of battle arts and comprehending the force was something that he had to do every day. Other than that, he had to cultivate various martial techniques. Every day, Lu Ming felt that he didn't have enough time. Thinking of this, Lu Ming moved his hand and a storage ring appeared. What's in the storage ring of a king? Looking at the storage ring, Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. That's right. This storage ring belonged to the martial king that Lu Ming had obtained in the Dongyi tribe's ancestral ruins. Lu Ming had fought with Xian Yanqing for this storage ring. In the end, Xian Yanqing had chosen a small jade sword. There was a powerful inscription array on the storage ring. Lu Ming couldn't break it in the past. He could only slowly work on it. However, recently Lu Ming felt that the inscription array on the storage ring was loosening. It was about to be broken. Today I'll break it completely. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then his hands glowed and powerful true qi surged toward the storage ring. The storage ring floated in the air, surrounded by a light screen. However, this light screen had become very thin. Under Lu Ming's true qi, it was on the verge of collapsing. Break for me! Lu Ming shouted. The true dragon of battle qi was constantly circulating. Like small true dragons, they rushed toward the light screen. Suddenly, the light screen emitted a bright light and expanded rapidly. When it had expanded to a few meters, it exploded with a poof. The inscription array on the storage ring was broken. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He grabbed the storage ring and immersed his mind into it. It's so big. His first impression was that the storage ring had a huge space. Lu Ming reckoned that even if he threw a mountain peak into it, it would be able to contain it. Then Lu Ming saw a mountain of items in the storage ring. This is spiritual weapons, armor, elixirs and secret manuals. Chapter 316. However, after looking through them, Lu Ming was shocked. Actually, these spiritual weapons, armors, elixirs and secret manuals were not very high level. The key was that there were too many of them. Numerous battle spears and battle swords were piled up like a mountain, emitting a cold luster. The armors were piled up higher than a mountain. The elixirs and jade bottles were also piled up like a mountain. There were too many of them. There were too many of them. Lu Ming estimated that there were at least hundreds of thousands of sets of spiritual weapons and armors. This was simply an armory. Lu Ming picked up some of them and found that most of them were level 2 spiritual weapons. There were a few level 3 spiritual weapons. As for level 4 spiritual weapons, there were not many of them. These are soul-gathering elixirs and soul-breaking elixirs. When Lu Ming checked the elixirs, he was shocked at first. Then he was excited and overjoyed. Soul-gathering elixirs could help martial soldiers and even martial masters improve their cultivation quickly. On the other hand, soul-breaking elixirs could help people break through to the next realm. Most of them were level 2 elixirs. They were not very useful for martial masters. However, there were too many of them. No wonder Lu Ming was so excited. These items could equip a huge army. How could there be so many low-level items in the storage ring of a martial king expert? Then Lu Ming thought about it and understood. The Dongyi tribe had occupied a huge territory and established an empire. Now, most of the territory of the Burning Sun Empire, the Dark Moon Empire, and even the Blood Zhao Empire belonged to the Dongyi tribe. The Dongyi tribe was a real medium-sized empire. Later on it was destroyed. The Dongyi ancestor's storage ring was filled with so many low-level spiritual weapons and elixirs. He must have wanted to build an army and rebuild the Dongyi Empire in the future. However, he died before he could do it. Now, all of them were taken advantage of by Lu Ming. Haha, I've searched high and low only to find it by chance. Good, this is great. In this way, how big of an army can I build? The Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf Cavalry and the other soldiers will be upgraded. Their strength will definitely increase greatly. Lu Ming thought ecstatically. Thinking of this, Lu Ming immediately left the Temple of Paragon and gathered all his deputy generals and deputy generals. When Lu Ming used some empty storage rings to store these spirit armors and elixirs, and showed them to these deputy and deputy generals, these people were immediately petrified. All of them widened their eyes and opened their mouths. They stared at Lu Ming in disbelief, motionless. After a long while, they finally reacted, and their bodies trembled with excitement. General, are these all yours? Huang gulped and said, Of course. Did you think I snatched them? All right, give everyone a set of spiritual weapons and armor. Distribute these medicinal pills to increase their strength. Take note, focus on the 30,000 scarlet blood-scaled wolves. I want them to break through to martial master as quickly as possible. Lu Ming instructed. His goal was to let the 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves all reach the martial master realm. Only then could the crimson blood-scaled wolves unleash their true strength. Of course, he only gave out 80,000 sets of spiritual weapons and armors. He would keep the rest for now. As for the secret manuals, they were some low-level martial techniques and battle formations. They were suitable for fighting on the battlefield, so they wouldn't be used in a short time. Lu Ming didn't give them out. Hua Ying and the others went out happily. Not long after, when Lu Ming's subordinates all changed into new equipment, everyone in the mountain-crushing army was shocked. It was too shocking. Lu Ming's subordinates were all equipped with level 2 spiritual weapons and armors. Level 2 spiritual weapons were on par with martial masters. When martial soldiers put on level 2 spiritual weapons and armors, their combat strength would definitely increase greatly. Their ability to protect themselves would also increase greatly. As for the elites, they all changed into level 3 spiritual weapons. It didn't take long for everyone to find out that Tianyun was the one who had given them the equipment. The mountain-crushing army soldiers were so envious that their eyes turned red. They found that the soldiers who followed Lu Ming were treated too well. First, they had crimson blood-scaled wolves, and now even their equipment was brand new. If it weren't for the military rules, they would have sworn allegiance to Tianyun. After Ming Meng found out, he smiled bitterly. From then on, every soldier under Lu Ming used the energy-gathering pill and the energy breakthrough pill to crazily increase their cultivation. During this time, the Yin Moon Empire seemed to have calmed down and didn't make any other moves. Time passed in a flash and half a month passed. In the past half a month, the strength of the crimson blood-scaled wolves had increased crazily. Originally, there were about 5,000 martial masters in the crimson blood-scaled wolves. As for the rest, most of them were at the 8th and 9th level of the martial warrior realm. In the past half a month, all of them had crazily improved. Some 9th level martial warriors had been stuck in the 9th level for a long time. At this time, with the help of the energy breakthrough pill, they broke through the bottleneck and rushed into the martial master realm. In half a month, more than 10,000 people rushed into the martial master realm. As for the others, almost every one of them had advanced by 1 or 2 levels. Pills left behind by a martial king expert, even if the level wasn't high, were still extraordinary. The Eastern barbarian martial king intended to build a strong army in a short period of time. The effects of the pills were naturally astonishing, exceeding Lu Ming's expectations. Great, if this continues, the 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves will all enter the martial master realm in less than a month. Lu Ming was overjoyed and distributed the pills without hesitation. The pills in the martial king's storage ring were prepared for the army of 500,000, so there was an inexhaustible supply. At this time, news came from Ming Meng that the Yin Moon Empire had made a move recently. Sure enough, 3 days later, the Yin Moon Empire's 600,000 army attacked the Ghost Moon Saber sect's territory. For a time the war continued. After Lu Ming received the news, he didn't hesitate and led the 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves to set off. It was time to test the strength of the crimson blood-scaled wolves. This battle shocked the entire world, shaking the Blazing Sun Empire and the Yin Moon Empire. The 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves led by Lu Ming were simply invincible and undefeatable. In this battle, the crimson blood-scaled wolves' first opponent was the Yin Moon Empire's Grey Wolf Legion. The 50,000 Grey Wolf Legion didn't have the slightest ability to fight back against the crimson blood-scaled wolves' attack. The 50,000 Grey Wolf Legion was almost completely annihilated. In this way, the Yin Moon Empire's Grey Wolf Legion was completely destroyed by Lu Ming, with 70,000 of them destroyed. Afterwards, the Yin Moon Empire sent out an extremely powerful legion, the Wild Lion Legion. The Wild Lion Legion was 100,000 strong, and their battle strength was even stronger than the Grey Wolf Legion. This battle was incomparably tragic, and shouts of killing filled the sky. In the end, the result was the same. The 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves defeated the 100,000 Wild Lion Legion in one fell swoop. The 100,000 Wild Lion Legion was almost completely wiped out. Chapter 317. In this battle, the Yin Moon Empire had lost 2 powerful legions and was forced to retreat. After this battle, the prestige of the Burning Sun Empire's imperial family increased greatly. This was because the Scarlet Blood Cavalry and Tianyun belonged to the imperial family. In the imperial palace of the Burning Sun Empire, excited laughter came from the throne room. In the throne room, Emperor Hua Jingxing sat on the dragon throne. Below him stood all the officials. Haha, good. Tianyun is indeed a peerless genius with the potential of a dragon or a phoenix. This battle has greatly damaged the morale of the Yin Moon Empire, and our imperial family's prestige has greatly increased. We have regained our popularity in the hearts of the people. Hua Jingxing laughed as his eyes shone with excitement. Congratulations, Your Majesty, for finding such a genius. Our imperial family has forgotten about this. A white-haired old official came up to congratulate. Congratulations, Your Majesty, for finding such a talent. The other civil and military officials all bowed and shouted loudly. Father Tianyun has done such a great service. We have to reward him. Huaqi walked out and bowed. Reward? Of course we have to reward him. How about this? Give Tianyun the title of Marquis Champion, meaning that he can form any army and recruit any talents. Hua Jingxing announced. Thank you, Father. Huaqi was overjoyed. Your Majesty is wise. The officials all congratulated. The news of Tianyun being given the title of Marquis Champion shook the Burning Sun Empire again. Tianyun's name was remembered by everyone because he was the youngest Marquis in the history of the Burning Sun Empire. In the palace of Heavenly King Suppressor. Marquis Champion? Damn it, this Tianyun deserves to die. Heavenly King Suppressor's angry roar came from the palace. In a certain side hall of the Star General Hall, Lu Yuntian was sitting on a stone table in a small courtyard with a piece of white paper spread out. He was concentrating on writing. It was the character for Marshal. Lu Yuntian's brush strokes were bold and vigorous, as if they were about to break free from his grasp. Although Lu Yuntian's cultivation had been destroyed, the word Marshal still contained his essence. He finished writing in one go. Lu Yuntian exhaled deeply. Brother Tian, I believe that in the future Ming-Er will definitely cure you and let you step onto the martial path again. Li Ping whispered as she saw through Lu Yuntian's thoughts. She understood how desolate it was for a martial arts genius to be unable to practice martial arts. Ping-Er, as long as you're by my side, even if I can't practice martial arts, so what? Moreover, Ming-Er's talent is countless times higher than mine. I'm satisfied. Lu Yuntian smiled. At this moment, a servant girl of about 20 years old hurriedly ran in. The maidservant was brought over by Li Ping from the Lu family and was very loyal. Chuanxiang, why are you in such a hurry? What happened? Li Ping frowned and asked. Master, Madam, good news, good news. Young Master won a great victory at the border. Now, His Majesty the Emperor has already conferred young Master the title of Marquis Champion and announced it to the world. Chun Xiang said excitedly. What? Lu Yuntian froze, the brush in his hand falling to the ground. Li Ping was also stunned. After a while she finally reacted. She was so excited that her whole body was trembling. Marquis Champion? Ming-Er has been conferred the title of Marquis? Is it true? Is it true? Li Ping asked a few times. She thought she was dreaming. It's absolutely true. Master, Madam, the outside world is talking about this matter now. Everyone knows about it. Chun Xiang said. Ming-Er has been conferred the title of Marquis. Brother Tian, Ming-Er has been conferred the title of Marquis. Li Ping whispered as tears rolled down her face. She couldn't help but lean into Lu Yuntian's arms. She was too excited. Why are you crying? This is a great thing. Why are you crying? Lu Yuntian hugged Li Ping and pretended to be calm. However, his slightly trembling voice could not hide his excitement. 2 days later, the news spread to Full Moon City. Marquis Champion, Marquis Champion. An inspiring roar resounded through the sky. On the northern grassland tens of thousands of miles away from Full Moon City, there were endless military tents here. At a glance, there was no end to it. This was the largest military camp in the south of the Yin Moon Empire. It ruled most of the southern territory of the Yin Moon Empire. Yin Qianjue, the south guarding king of the Yin Moon Empire, was stationed here. He was fully in charge of the attack against the Burning Sun Empire. At this moment, there were a dozen people sitting in Yin Qianjue's military tent. Yin Qianjue sat at the top, looking at a figure wrapped in a black robe in the middle of the tent. Yin Qianjue, why did your Yin Moon Empire retreat? Our plan is ruined. The black-robed man only revealed a pair of eyes. He looked at Yin Qianjue gloomily. Why did we retreat? Nonsense, do you know how big our losses are? The entire Wild Lion Legion was annihilated, the Grey Wolf Legion was almost destroyed, and the Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Legion and so on. Do you know how much it cost to train these legions? Do you know? Yin Qianjue slammed the table heavily and almost roared. The black-robed man was silent for a while and said, This time we didn't foresee it. We didn't expect Tianyun to be so difficult to deal with. Haha, you want to shirk responsibility by saying that you didn't foresee it? Wishful thinking. Yin Qianjue sneered. When I came here, I already received the order that we will compensate for your losses. However, the plan still has to go on. Otherwise, this loss will be in vain. As long as the plan succeeds, we will give you a lot of benefits. The black-robed man said. Go on. It's easy for you to say. Who will be responsible for Tianyun's red blood cavalry? We can't afford to lose them. Tianjue sneered. The red blood cavalry is not scary. The scary one is Tianyun. As long as Tianyun is dead, the red blood cavalry will fall apart. At that time, we will be able to destroy them easily. The black-robed man said. What's your plan? Tianjue asked. The black-robed man sneered and said, Assassinate Tianyun. Assassinate? Tianyun is hiding among the 30,000 red blood cavalry, and there is a powerful expert following him. It's not easy to assassinate him. Tianjue said. Then let's wait. I refuse to believe that Tianyun will just hide in his barracks. Your country is famous for its assassination techniques, and I'm sure you're more adept than I am. Besides, this time, we'll be sending our strongest assassins to work with your country to kill Tianyun. The black-robed man's voice was filled with killing intent. Good. We will also send our strongest assassins to kill Tianyun. Also, I need to ask for reinforcements from His Majesty. I'm afraid that we won't be able to launch a large-scale attack in a short period of time. Tianjue said. Don't worry. We can still afford to wait for 1 or 2 months. That's settled then. After the black faction member finished speaking, his figure moved, and he had already disappeared. Tianjue thought for a while and then ordered, Summon the Yuan-Ke twin killers to see me. Yes. Chapter 318. 3,000 miles northwest of Full Moon City, there was a quiet valley. Lu Ming appeared outside the valley. Then Lu Ming moved and went into the valley. After about 1,000 meters, Lu Ming stopped. In front of him, there was a huge blood cocoon floating in the air. The golden-eye blood zombie is going to evolve. Lu Ming whispered. That's right, the blood cocoon in front of him was the golden-eye blood zombie. Previously, Lu Ming had led the golden-eyed blood zombie and the red blood armored cavalry to kill hundreds of thousands of Moon soldiers. The golden-eyed blood zombie had absorbed too much blood and aura and had begun to evolve on the way back to Full Moon City. They could only find a quiet place to let it evolve. After Lu Ming returned to Full Moon City, he finished his business and rushed over to check on the situation. I don't know how long it will take for the golden-eye blood zombie to evolve. Now it seems that the situation is stable. I'll go back to Full Moon City first and check on it later. Thinking of this, Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the sky. Soon after, he returned to Full Moon City. Greetings, Marquis Champion. Greetings, Marquis Champion. Once he returned to Full Moon City, the officials and the general of the mountain army bowed respectfully when they saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded in response. Soon he returned to the Red Blood Army camp. Everything was normal. Hua Ying was indeed a good commander. Under his management, the Red Blood Cavalry and the other soldiers were cultivating hard. Lu Ming was very assured about this. In the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. A huge stone tablet floated above his head. What was different was that there were 4 silver chakras around the tablet. That's right, Lu Ming's second bloodline had evolved. Lu Ming felt that the 9 Dragons bloodline had reached the limit of ordinary level 9, but it was difficult to evolve. No matter how much blood chi it refined, it was still at ordinary level 9. Therefore, Lu Ming had used the blood chi he had devoured to evolve his second bloodline. In that battle, he had devoured so much essence blood that his second bloodline had successfully evolved. His cultivation had also reached the peak of the 3rd layer martial ancestor realm. I don't know when the 9 Dragons bloodline will reach the king level. Forget it, I don't want to think about it. When the time comes, it will naturally come naturally. Right now, the 9 Dragons heaven step is the most important. Lu Ming pondered. After this period of cultivation, coupled with the continuous battles, Lu Ming finally had some understanding of the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps. Lu Ming took out the secret manual of the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps and read it carefully. Then he closed his eyes and carefully comprehended it. An hour later, Lu Ming suddenly stood up and casually stepped to the side. 1. At this time, Lu Ming's body seemed to resonate with the heavens and earth. His body emitted an inexplicable fluctuation that was extremely mysterious. What a strong pressure. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a terrifying pressure acting on his body. He felt as if his body was about to explode from the pressure. Dong. Finally Lu Ming stepped on the ground. At this moment the entire temple of Paragon shook violently. The ground rumbled as if it was about to explode. Phew. After stepping on the ground, Lu Ming let out a long breath. The mysterious fluctuation on his body disappeared and the pressure on his body disappeared without a trace. What a strong pressure. No wonder Supreme Nine Suns told me that I must break through the martial ancestor realm and my physical body reach the 4th layer before I can cultivate the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. If my physical body and cultivation don't meet the requirements, I'm afraid I'll explode from the pressure. Lu Ming sighed. However, his eyes were filled with excitement. I haven't completed the first step yet, but the power is already extremely shocking. The Supreme Divine Palace is indestructible, but it actually caused such a vibration. If I took a step on the ground, I'm afraid the ground would explode. Lu Ming was extremely satisfied with the power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. It was indeed a divine-level martial skill. Continue. After that, Lu Ming continued to cultivate. He wanted to complete the first step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Time flashed by and another month passed. In a month, the Qixia cavalries had made incredible progress. With the continuous supply of medicinal pills, the remaining 30,000 Qixia cavalries had all broken through to the martial master realm. This had greatly increased the strength of the Qixia cavalries. Of course, the consumption of medicinal pills was also terrifying. 30,000 people had consumed the medicinal pills that were originally prepared for 100,000 people. That was why their cultivation had increased so quickly. Apart from the 30,000 Qixia cavalries, the other soldiers' cultivation had also increased a lot. The fastest one had increased his cultivation by 3 whole levels. The worst one had increased his cultivation by 1 level. Lu Ming's army of 80,000 people had become much stronger. During this month, the outside world had not been peaceful. It could be said that a storm was brewing. However, there were 2 people who had attracted the most attention. One was Duan Mulin. After being silent for many years, Duan Mulin had finally erupted. He had consecutively challenged 10 extremely famous Golden Grade disciples of the 5 great sections. He had won one battle after another. He had almost challenged the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire. Just when everyone thought that he would challenge the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire, he had stopped. This made many people wonder how strong Duan Mulin was. The other person was even more shocking. He was Qiu Changkong. For some reason, Qiu Changkong had a conflict with Gu Yuyun, who was ranked 22nd on the Emperor leaderboard. The result was shocking. In the end, it had ended with Gu Yuyun being killed. Qiu Changkong was ranked 36th on the Emperor leaderboard. However, he had killed Gu Yuyun, who was ranked 22nd. This was not only shocking in the Blazing Sun Empire, but also in the 36 empires of the Emperor leaderboard. Qiu Changkong's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. Among the 36 empires of the Emperor leaderboard, there were 8 middle-ranked empires. Of the 36 geniuses on the Emperor leaderboard, 32 of them were from the 8 middle-ranked empires. Only 4 of them were from the low-ranked empires. It was already shocking that Qiu Changkong could be ranked on the Emperor leaderboard. This had caused an even greater commotion. These 2 pieces of news naturally reached Lu Ming's ears. However, when Lu Ming heard it, he smiled faintly and continued to cultivate. There is movement from the golden eye. On this day, when Lu Ming was cultivating, he suddenly felt that something was wrong with the demon suppression token. It was emitting a faint light. Perhaps the golden eye has completed its evolution. Let's go and see how much the golden eye can improve. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. The golden eye blood zombie was already at the peak of the 7th realm of the martial arts grandmaster realm. If it evolved again, it would definitely be stronger. It would be a great help to Lu Ming. Lu Ming left the full moon city and turned into a ray of light. He headed toward the valley where the golden eye blood zombie was. Lu Ming did not notice that not long after he left the full moon city, a few figures in the distant grassland rushed into the sky and followed him. Soon Lu Ming arrived at the valley and walked in. In front of him, the smell of blood was extremely strong. The blood cocoon was filled with blood light. When Lu Ming stepped into the valley, the blood light in front of him suddenly shrunk. Crack. Chapter 319. This figure was the golden eye blood zombie. However, it was slightly different from before. Its golden pupils had become even more dazzling, as if 2 pieces of gold had been embedded in them. The green hair on its skin had faded a lot, making its skin appear blood red and translucent. It looked like it was made of fiery red steel and was full of power. The aura of the GoldenEye blood zombie was more than 5 or 6 times stronger than before. How could it be so much stronger? This aura is definitely not the aura of an 8th level martial arts grandmaster. Could it be that the GoldenEye blood zombie has reached the 9th level martial arts grandmaster? Lu Ming's mind raced and his eyes were filled with surprise. The GoldenEye blood zombie growled and came to Lu Ming's side. "Let's go back to Full Moon City," Lu Ming said. Then, together with the GoldenEye blood zombie, they shot into the sky and flew toward Full Moon City. However, before they had flown for more than 10 miles, Lu Ming suddenly felt a chill down his spine. At this moment, the GoldenEye blood zombie let out an earth-shattering roar and rushed toward Lu Ming's head. Chi-chi. Above Lu Ming's head, a dark cloud suddenly split open. 2 pale white saber radiances, faster than lightning, slashed toward Lu Ming's head. Boom. Boom. The GoldenEye blood zombie and the 2 saber radiances collided. Then the GoldenEye blood zombie's body fell to the ground like a cannonball. Swoosh. Just as the 2 saber radiances slashed out, a black sword radiance pierced through the void behind Lu Ming and stabbed toward him. This sword was fast, accurate, ruthless and terrifyingly powerful. 9th level martial arts grandmaster. 3 9th level martial arts grandmaster assassins, block for me. Lu Ming roared furiously. 6 ancient shields condensed behind him and stacked together. However, Chi-chi, the 6 ancient shields were penetrated in an instant. However, this bought Lu Ming time. The second bloodline was activated instantly. He waved his left hand and a huge beast claw struck out. At the same time, he held the demon banishing spear in his right hand and stabbed it out. The spear was filled with the power of wind and fire. Bang. The first to bear the brunt was the giant beast claw, which was destroyed by the sword light. Following that, the tip of the demon banishing spear clashed with the sword light. Clang. A terrifying shockwave spread out and Lu Ming gave a muffled groan as he was sent flying back several thousand meters. Only then did he stop in the air and spit out a mouthful of blood. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, 3 figures flashed and appeared in the air. 2 of them were middle-aged men wearing blood-red robes. One of them had a full moon embroidered on it, while the other had a chipped moon embroidered on it. Both of them held a scimitar in their hands. The 2 of them stood behind Lu Ming, blocking his path of retreat. The third person was wrapped in a black robe, and his appearance could not be seen. He held a thin and black sword in his hand. He was in front of Lu Ming, and the 3 of them had faintly sealed off Lu Ming's escape route. This Tianyun is indeed difficult to deal with. I can't even kill him. The middle-aged man with a flawless full moon embroidered on it spoke. His voice was cold and hoarse, extremely unpleasant to the ears. That's a golden-eyed blood zombie. What a powerful golden-eyed blood zombie. It seems to have reached the early 9th realm of the martial arts grandmaster realm. It's not weaker than the 3 of us. The middle-aged man with a chipped moon embroidered on it said. Brr. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and rushed out from the ground, blocking in front of Lu Ming. There were 2 deep wounds on the golden-eyed blood zombie's claws, which were caused by the scimitar radiance. Lu Ming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His gaze landed on the thin black sword in front of him. His eyes flashed as he said, "You're from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, right?" He had seen that kind of sword more than once. "Hee, since you're going to die today, there's no harm in telling you." "You guessed right. I'm the top assassin of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. It's your honor to have me." The black-robed man sneered. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion is actually cooperating with the Yi Moon Empire. It seems that the Decimo Sword Sect is going to play a big game of chess. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. "Hee, you seem to know quite a lot." The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin sneered. "Charge." Suddenly, Lu Ming shouted softly and dashed to the left. What a joke. The 3 martial arts grandmaster realm early-stage assassins were too strong. They were not people he could fight against. If he stayed, he would only die. Only by charging out would he have a chance of survival. Trying to escape? How is that possible? Die. The 3 assassins roared and attacked. 2 scimitars and 1 scimitar radiance pierced through the void and slashed toward Lu Ming. Fast, too fast. They were behind Lu Ming in an instant. The martial arts grandmaster realm 9th stage assassins were too strong. Brr. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and rushed forward fearlessly. However, it was only one person after all. It was no match for the 2 scimitars and was sent flying again. If its body was not as tough as steel, it would have been cut into pieces. Clang. On the other side, Lu Ming used all his strength to exchange blows with the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin. This time Lu Ming was sent flying even further. He coughed up blood and one of his arms was covered with scars. He felt as if his entire body was about to split open. This blow had caused him to be even more severely injured. Kill? The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin shouted coldly. His murderous intent surged as he continued to attack Lu Ming. Roar. The golden-eyed blood zombie rushed out from the ground again. Leave this beast to the two of us. You're in charge of killing Tianyun. Yuan Ke shouted coldly and charged toward the golden-eyed blood zombie. Don't worry. Tianyun will die. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin's voice was extremely cold. His scimitar radiance became sharper as it pierced through the sky. A sword scar that was a few miles long appeared in the sky as if it was going to cut the sky apart. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Boom. At that moment, Lu Ming unleashed all his strength. His true chi surged as he roared into the sky and suddenly took a step forward. A strange wave of energy emanated from Lu Ming's body. Following that, a terrifying force exploded from Lu Ming's feet. A dragon's roar suddenly sounded. It was as if a supreme true dragon was stepping in the sky, crushing everything. After a month of hard work, he had finally mastered the first step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Boom. This step collided with the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin's scimitar radiance. With an earth-shattering boom, Lu Ming's body flew far away again. However, the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin was also stunned by this blow and stopped. How is this possible? The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin let out a hysterical roar. He could not believe it. He could clearly see that Tianyun was only at the peak of the martial arts Grandmaster 3rd Realm while he was at the early stage of the martial arts Grandmaster 9th Realm. There was a difference of about 6 levels. Could be said that they were worlds apart. With such a huge difference, it was already a miracle that Ling Yun could survive 2 strikes of his scimitar. But now Ling Yun had actually blocked his attack. This was simply a fantasy. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin had lived for so long, but he had never heard of such a thing. His self-confidence had been severely damaged. Die. 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 The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin roared and charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. Lu Ming's talent terrified him. 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Lu Ming roared. This time he did not step toward the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin. Instead he stepped toward the space behind him. As a divine martial technique, the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was not only used for attacking. Chapter 320. With one step, Lu Ming's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already 10 miles away. 10 miles in 1 step. This was the terrifying power of the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps. Moreover, Lu Ming had only mastered the first step. According to the records of the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps, when cultivated to the highest level, one would be like 9 dragons. With 1 step, one could travel hundreds of millions of miles. It was unimaginably powerful. Right now Lu Ming was still far from it. Damn it, you can't escape. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin roared furiously and chased after Lu Ming. To a martial arts grandmaster, 10 miles was a matter of a few breaths. Without thinking, Lu Ming took another step. With a flash of his body, he moved as fast as lightning and crossed a distance of 10 miles under his feet. Suddenly, Lu Ming's body trembled and he spat out another mouthful of blood. He was already severely injured. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, the pressure from heaven and earth was also extremely great. This caused his injuries to worsen. The difference was too great. There was no way he could fight back. He could only escape. Swoosh. Behind him, the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin chased after him relentlessly. Even further behind, the golden-eye blood zombie was holding Yuan Ke back. Tianyun, hand over your martial technique and I'll leave your corpse intact. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin shouted. The martial technique Lu Ming used was too shocking. He was envious. If he could get it, how strong would his combat power be? His desire to kill Lu Ming grew even stronger. What a joke. If you have the ability, come and get it yourself. Lu Ming sneered and took another step. Buzz. Heaven and earth trembled slightly. Lu Ming's body was like a bolt of lightning, sweeping across the void. In an instant he was 10 miles away, widening the distance between him and the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin. Damn it, damn it. I don't believe you can use such a powerful martial technique continuously. Today you must die. The assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion roared loudly, and a huge black wolf rose from his body. He chased after Lu Ming with all his might. Every time Lu Ming took a step forward, he would take 2 breaths and then take another step forward. It was these 2 breaths that allowed his opponent to close the distance between them. Just like this, one fled while the other chased. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed 1,000 miles. Lu Ming's body was bleeding profusely. The continuous use of the 9 Dragons' heaven-stomping steps had caused him too much damage. His skin cracked open and blood flowed freely. The true qi in his body was becoming increasingly scarce, and he could not hold on for much longer. Suddenly, there was a burst of moisture in front of him. It was a great river that was incomparably wide, surging across the prairie. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he took another step along the river. 10 li away, Lu Ming looked ahead. The great river forked in front. Moreover, it wasn't a single fork, but rather a fan shape, opening up 5 forks, 5 branches, flowing towards the entire prairie, nurturing the creatures of the prairie. The heavens are helping me. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Without thinking, he plunged into the great river. The river was extremely deep, more than 100 meters deep. Lu Ming sank directly to the bottom of the river and swam rapidly forward. Swoosh! In just 4 to 5 breaths, the assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion appeared above the great river. Trying to escape? Dream on. Kill. The assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion shouted loudly as he slashed out with his battle sword. Dense and sharp sword qi shot toward the river. Instantly, the river surged and many large fish were killed. Their corpses floated to the surface and blood dyed the river red. Die. The assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion seemed to have gone mad as he continuously slashed out sword qi at the river. Boom. Boom. Sword qi shot out continuously, covering the entire river surface. At the bottom of the river, Lu Ming swam like a fish, dodging the sword qi. Blat. However, the sword qi was too dense, and one sword qi still pierced through Lu Ming's shoulder, almost chopping off his arm. Blood flowed profusely. Lu Ming snorted and continued to move forward. 5 forks appeared in front of him. Lu Ming chose one at random and swam down quickly. Above him, the assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion ravaged this part of the river as if he had gone mad. However, he still did not see Lu Ming's figure. Then he rushed into the river and started searching. After searching everywhere, he still could not find Lu Ming. When he reached the fork, his face was completely distorted. He did not know which fork Lu Ming had gone to. Moreover, it was impossible to chase after the enemy based on the aura in the river. The river water would disperse the aura. Swoosh! He rushed into the sky and looked around. Then he roared furiously, "Damn it! Lu Ming followed the river and swam down. He did not know how far he had drifted. Lu Ming felt more and more weak. His vision turned black and he felt waves of intense pain all over his body. He knew that his injuries were too severe previously, and they were acting up now. No, I have to find a place to heal. Otherwise, I'll be in danger. Then Lu Ming wiped his face and took off his disguise mask, revealing his true appearance. His body had already returned to its original state due to his injuries. Then he changed into a new set of clothes. Lu Ming continued to drift along the river for a while, in case the assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion caught up to him. In the evening, a group of people hurried along the main road beside the Sioux River. There were more than 10 people. Most of them were burly middle-aged men. They exuded a heavy aura. It was obvious that they were martial arts experts. Riding at the front were 2 young people, a man and a woman. The man was handsome, but his long and narrow eyes gave people a gloomy feeling. The woman wore a long green dress. Her figure was graceful and her curves were undulating. She was extremely beautiful. However, the woman seemed to have something on her mind. Her brows were tightly furrowed. "Stop!" Suddenly the woman shouted softly. She pulled the horse under her and made it stop. The others also stopped. "Amoing, why did you suddenly stop?" the young man asked with a frown. "There's someone ahead," Amoing said. The group looked ahead. Indeed, they saw a figure climbing out of the Sioux River. After the figure climbed onto the bank, he staggered as if he would fall down at any moment. "Yin and Yang." The figure looked at everyone and suddenly screamed. Then he fell straight to the ground. "He's just a dying man. Why do you care so much about him? Let's hurry back to Tiansu City. The young prince came specially to see you. Don't keep him waiting." The young man casually glanced at the figure and said nonchalantly, "I want to save him." After saying that, Amoing jumped off her horse and walked toward the figure. "What? You want to save him? You want to save a piece of trash like him? The young man shouted. However, he did not see the shock in Mo Ying's eyes. How did he know? Can he cure me? I'm the only one who knows about this. But this person can tell at a glance. I must save him. Mo Ying thought as she helped the figure up. She was slightly shocked when she saw him. He's so young. The figure who climbed out of the river was naturally Lu Ming. He drifted along the river for a while. Unexpectedly, his injuries were more serious than he thought. Chapter 321. Lu Ming tried his best to climb to the shore, but he was already exhausted and could faint at any time. But then he saw Mo Ying and the others. The moment he saw Mo Ying, his 9 dragons bloodline throbbed for some reason. He could clearly feel the cultivation situation in Mo Ying's body. Mo Ying's bloodline was definitely related to dragons. He realized that there were 2 types of qi in Mo Ying's body. That was why he screamed before he fainted. His purpose was to attract Mo Ying's attention. Mo Ying would definitely not abandon him and save him out of curiosity. You guessed right. Mo Ying was very curious about him. Mo Ying, there is no fluctuation of genuine qi in this person. He is obviously an ant. Why save him? Leave him here and follow me back to Sutian City. It will be hard to explain to the young prince if he waits for too long. At this time, the young man walked over and glanced at Lu Ming, urging him. Mo Bing. Mo Ying's face flashed with displeasure. She shouted coldly, if you are in a hurry to return to Sutian City, you can go back first. Also, I am not going back to Sutian City to see the young prince. I just want to go back. There is no need to explain to anyone. If you want to explain, do it yourself. Also, this person is seriously injured. If I don't save him, he will not live for long. I must save him. Mo Ying's tone was resolute. You? Mo Bing's face was livid. Then he glared at Lu Ming viciously and turned to leave. Mo Ying looked at Lu Ming and frowned slightly. Lu Ming's injuries were too serious. This person is definitely a martial artist. Maybe he has exhausted his genuine qi. Otherwise, how could he see the abnormality in my body at a glance? But this person's injuries are too serious. I am afraid it will not be easy to save him. Mo Ying thought for a while, took out a fragrant pill and fed it to Lu Ming. The pill melted in his mouth and turned into energy that flowed into Lu Ming's body. After a while, Lu Ming's face became a little rosier. Come, help him onto the horse. We will go slowly. Mo Ying ordered. Yes, Miss Ying. A middle-aged man stepped forward and helped Lu Ming onto a horse, letting Lu Ming lie on the horse. After that, Mo Ying got on her horse and moved forward at a speed that was not much faster than a normal person's walking speed. Mo Ying, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? You're walking so slowly on purpose. Have you thought about the consequences of standing Little Prince up? Little Prince is the son of our Inua Empire's Jinan Prince. Mo Bing shouted coldly. You keep calling me Little Prince. I'm not Little Prince's dog. I can see whoever I want. I can walk as slowly as I want. No one can stop me. I've said it before. If you're impatient, you can go back first. Mo Ying replied coldly with a hint of mockery. What did you say? Mo Bing was furious, but Mo Ying sneered and ignored him. Little bitch, just because you have some talent, you think you're a proud daughter of the heavens. Just you wait. One day, I'll make you regret what you said today. Mo Bing roared in his heart, but he did not say it out loud. The group moved forward at a leisurely pace. Half a day later, Lu Ming woke up. As soon as he woke up, he felt a stabbing pain all over his body. I've been cut by the Silver Wolf Pavilion Assassin's sword qi and the pressure from using the 9 Dragons' heaven-stomping steps. My muscles and bones are all cracked. Fortunately, my internal organs are not seriously injured. I should be able to recover soon. Lu Ming secretly observed his injuries and pondered in his heart. Then Lu Ming struggled to sit up and circulated the True Dragon Battle chant to heal his injuries. At first, he did not use any true qi, but after circulating the True Dragon Battle chant several times, a wisp of true qi began to appear in his body. With the circulation of the True Dragon Battle chant, the true qi in his body increased. On the side, Mo Ying looked at Lu Ming and did not disturb him. On the other side, Mo Bing glanced at Lu Ming and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He thought, so he's a martial artist. This time it's all because of him that we're late. When we get back to Sutian City, I'll teach him a lesson. 2 hours later, Lu Ming had recovered 1% of his true qi. At this time he took out 2 spirit crystals and held them in his hand to speed up the recovery of true qi. The wounds on his body were healing rapidly. At the same time, the internal injuries deep in his body were also slowly healing. This was the benefit of having a strong body. His body had reached the 5th grade, so his recovery and vitality were extremely amazing. If an ordinary person suffered such injuries, they would have died several times over. Half a day later, Lu Ming barely recovered 1/20th of his true qi. The injuries on his body were also much better, and there were no more bursts of stabbing pain. "How's your recovery?" At this time Emoing rode over and asked. "It's a little better. This time, thank you for saving my life. Lu Ming will remember it in his heart." Lu Ming clasped his fist and said, "This was the Yinyu Empire." Of course he could not use the name Tianyun or he would be killed on the spot. So he simply used the name Lu Ming. "You don't have to thank me. It's just a small matter." Emoing pondered for a while and asked in a low voice, "Young Master Lu Ming, before you fell unconscious, you shouted that qi is divided into yin and yang. What do you mean?" "Finally you can't help it." Lu Ming smiled in his heart and said, "You know the answer. If I'm not wrong, your bloodline should be related to the dragon. But in the process of cultivation there is a problem. The true qi you cultivate is biased toward yin, but there is yang true qi in your bloodline. So, yin and yang are not in harmony, which often causes you to suffer." Lu Ming spoke very softly and only Emoing could hear him. After hearing this, Emo Ying's eyes lit up. She was very surprised and said, "Young master, you can see it at a glance. It's completely correct. My bloodline is the cloud dragon. Like the flood dragon, I have the bloodline of the true dragon. But I don't know why there is yang true qi which repeatedly interferes with my cultivation. I wonder if young master has a way to solve it?" After saying that, she looked at Lu Ming with a hopeful face. She had secretly looked for famous doctors and some famous inscriptionists, but she could not find a solution. She had been in despair, but now there was hope. "It shouldn't be difficult. As long as you suppress the yang true qi and take it out, it will be fine. But to do this you have to wait until my injuries are healed," Lu Ming said. "Really? Well, I will buy the best elixir to let you recover as soon as possible." Emoing was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded. He planned to go to Sutian City with Emoing first. After his injuries were healed, he would return to Full Moon City. Otherwise, with his current situation, he wouldn't even be able to fly. If he were to encounter a slightly stronger demonic beast along the way, he would become its food. That would be too unjust. Not far away, Emo Bing saw Emoing talking to Lu Ming as if they were very close. He immediately roared in his heart, "This little bitch is really a slut. She must have taken a fancy to this little bastard. Humph, when we reach Sutian City I will report to the young master. Let's see how you will die." Chapter 322. The Yin Moon Empire and the Burning Sun Empire were completely different. In the Yin Moon Empire, the royal family was extremely powerful and controlled everything. Below them, there were a series of powerful aristocratic families that obeyed the royal family and ruled over thousands of miles of land. Su Chancheng was extremely majestic and was one of the top 10 cities in the Yin Moon Empire. The Emo family in Su Chancheng was also extremely prosperous and ranked in the top 10 among the aristocratic families in the Yin Moon Empire. Along the way, Lu Ming learned a lot of information. For example, Emo Ying was originally a collateral disciple of the Emo family. However, she was extremely talented and was heavily nurtured by the Emo family. Now, she was already one of the top 5 geniuses in the Emo family and her cultivation had reached the first level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. With such a status, she would be treated well in the Emo family. She had her own courtyard and more than 10 servants. Once they returned to the Emo family, Emo Ying brought Lu Ming to her courtyard so that Lu Ming could recover better. In a guest room in Emo Ying's courtyard, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. With a wave of his hand, a pile of spiritual herbs and spiritual medicine appeared beside him. Here, Lu Ming could finally relax and recover to his heart's content. Immediately, he activated the 10,000 spirit battle body and turned the spiritual herbs and spiritual medicine into 10,000 spirit qi. The 10,000 spirit qi seeped into his body and quickly healed Lu Ming's injured body. Lu Ming's body was recovering rapidly. A few hours later, Lu Ming finished healing his body and activated the True Dragon of Combat skill to recover his genuine qi. When he finished cultivating, it was already evening. Knock knock, there was a knock on the door. Lu Ming opened the door and saw Emo Ying. Apparently, Mo Ying had just finished washing up. Her hair was still wet and stuck to her face. She had changed into a black gauze dress and her graceful figure was faintly discernible under the gauze dress. She was extremely seductive. Mo Ying was indeed very beautiful. Among the women that Lu Ming had seen, Mo Ying was only slightly inferior to Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, Autumn Moon and Mulans. She was a rare beauty. Brother Lu, these are the healing elixirs that I just bought. Take them. Mo Ying took out a few jade bottles and handed them to Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony either. He received the jade bottle and said with a smile, "Many thanks, Miss Mo. There's no need to be so polite. I won't disturb Brother Lu's recuperation." Mo Ying did not say much. She said a few words of courtesy and turned to leave. After Mo Ying left, Lu Ming raised his head and looked towards the north. That direction was the depths of the Mo family. For some reason, as soon as Lu Ming arrived at the Mo family, he felt that there was something in the depths of the Mo family that was attracting him. To be precise, it was attracting the Nine Dragons bloodline, making it feel as if it was cheering. What exactly does the Mo family have? It actually caused the Nine Dragons bloodline to jump for joy. Looks like I'll have to stay in the Mo family for a while longer. Lu Ming looked in that direction deep in thought. After pondering for a while, Lu Ming returned to his room to recuperate. Just like that, 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. After 5 days of recuperation, Lu Ming's injuries had completely healed and his cultivation had returned to its peak state. To be able to fully recover from such a serious injury in just 5 days was extremely shocking. This was completely dependent on the divine level cultivation method, True Dragon Tactics, and his rank 5 physical body. In these 5 days, Mo Ying often came to visit him, but she did not mention a word about treating him. I wonder what the local customs of the Yinhua Empire are like? It's rare for me to come here. I'll take a look. Lu Ming smiled, then walked out of Mo Ying's courtyard and casually strolled around Sutian City. Sutian City was really big. In the Burning Sun Empire, among all the cities that Lu Ming had seen, only the Burning Sun Empire was bigger than Sutian City. On the streets, there was an endless stream of powerful martial artists. Around the streets there was a forest of shops. There were all kinds of strange things, some of which were specialties of the Yinhua Empire. Lu Ming had only seen them in books before. Now that he saw the real thing, he could not help but buy some. Little bastard, stop right there. Lu Ming had just strolled for a while when a cold voice came from behind. Lu Ming turned around and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Wasn't that Mo Bing? Mo Bing's face was gloomy as he strode towards Lu Ming with 4 big men. Little bastard, who are you calling? Lu Ming said lightly. Of course little bastard is calling you. Mo Bing said coldly. Oh, so it's little bastard calling me. Hello little bastard. Lu Ming said with a smile. You. Only then did Mo Bing react, his face was livid. The 4 big men behind him almost could not hold back their laughter, but looking at their slightly trembling body, it was obvious that they had a hard time holding back their laughter. You have a sharp tongue. Do you want to die? Mo Bing's face was incomparably ugly. He stared coldly at Lu Ming and said, I think your injuries have almost healed. In that case, quickly get out of the Mo family. Mo Ying's courtyard is not a place where you can stay. The longer you stay, the more miserable your death will be. Is that so? I'd like to try. Lu Ming smiled, not caring at all. Brat, have you taken a fancy to that girl Mo Ying? Do you want to hit on her? Let me tell you, that girl Mo Ying is someone that the young prince likes. If anyone wants to hit on her, he will be going against the young prince. Only death awaits him. Mo Bing threatened. Little prince? Who does he think he is? Lu Ming said lightly. Mo Bing's face suddenly changed and he shouted, Boy, you're courting death. Men, break his legs and throw him out of Su Chancheng. Yes. Behind Mo Bing, the 4 big men responded in unison. They took large strides forward, emitting powerful auras as they closed in on Lu Ming. 9th layer martial master realm. The 4 big men were all 9th layer martial masters. Whoosh, whoosh. The 4 big men attacked together, aiming at Lu Ming's hands and feet. They were going to cripple his limbs in one blow. Bang, 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 bang. In the next moment, 4 crisp sounds could be heard. 4 tall figures were sent flying far away and fell to the ground. Each of them hugged an arm and cried out in agony. It was the 4 big men. At this moment, one of their arms was twisted into a fried dough twist, broken into 7 or 8 pieces. Mo Bing was stunned. He kept blinking his eyes, thinking that he was dreaming. The 4 martial artists at the 9th level martial master realm had their arms broken in an instant and were sent flying. He did not even see how Lu Ming did it. How was this possible? This person that they had randomly bumped into on the side of the road who was about to die was so strong. Was he a martial ancestor realm genius? You said you were going to break my legs? Lu Ming smiled and walked toward Mo Bing. Mo Bing's expression changed greatly. He could not help but retreat and shouted, What are you trying to do? I'm an elite disciple of the Mo clan. These servants can't compare to me. If you dare to touch me, I won't let you leave Su Tianqing. However, Lu Ming was not moved at all. He walked toward Mo Bing step by step. Cold sweat started to appear on Mo Bing's face. His eyes were filled with fear. In the end, he screamed and turned to run. Lu Ming smiled coldly. He flicked his finger and shot out a few streams of energy, hitting Mo Bing's legs. Chapter 323. Both of Mo Bing's legs were broken by Lu Ming and blood flowed out. Mo Bing wailed again and again and even tears flowed out. Around them, a large number of onlookers were shocked. Mo Bing was a genius disciple of the Mo family and was very famous in Sutian City. Who was this person who dared to break his legs? Many people looked at Lu Ming and secretly guessed. What are you shouting for? Now get out of here. Lu Ming shouted angrily. The 4 burly men struggled to get up as if they had been pardoned. They used the other hand to support Mo Bing and ran away. Lu Ming did not care and continued to stroll on the street. After strolling for a while, he went back. As soon as he returned to Mo Ying's courtyard, he ran into Mo Ying. Brother Lu, have you recovered from your injury? Mo Ying asked. Lu Ming nodded and said with a smile, it's almost healed. That. Mo Ying stammered, wanting to say something but hesitated. Lu Ming smiled and said, let's go and see how the true qi in your body is. Okay. Mo Ying was overjoyed. Then to my bedroom? Or to your bedroom? Lu Ming asked. Mo Ying was stunned and then her face turned red. After pondering for a while, she whispered, let's go to my bedroom. Lu Ming nodded and walked to her bedroom with Mo Ying. Mo Ying's bedroom was decorated very elegantly, with a faint fragrance. The two sat cross-legged on the bed. Miss Mo, there may be some presumptuous actions later, please forgive me. Lu Ming said. Presumptuous actions? Mo Ying's face turned even redder and her big eyes were misty. Lu Ming was speechless. This girl was too shy. I haven't started anything yet. Mo Ying took a deep breath as if she was going to throw caution to the wind and said firmly, go ahead, I'm fine with anything. Anything? Lu Ming's heart could not help but flutter. A man and a woman alone in a room and a young and beautiful girl said, go ahead, I'm fine with anything. This was too much for one's imagination to run wild. I didn't mean that. When Mo Ying thought about it, even her ears turned red. The two of them stared at each other for a long time before they slowly calmed down. Then Lu Ming and Mo Ying's palms touched each other. Lu Ming channeled a stream of true qi into Mo Ying's body. Mo Ying's genuine qi was strong and condensed, and it was unusually cold. However, within the cold true energy, there were traces of blazing true energy that intertwined with the cold true energy. In this way, Mo Ying's genuine qi would not be pure, which would greatly interfere with her cultivation. Sometimes she would even experience alternating between hot and cold, which would be extremely painful. Only by removing the blazing genuine qi could Mo Ying's shackles be lifted. By then Mo Ying's cultivation speed would be even faster. As expected, the true qi nurtured by the cloud dragon can actually take the form of a dragon. Lu Ming discovered that Mo Ying's cold and blazing true qi were both in the shape of dragons, intertwining with each other like tiny dragons. It was very similar to the true qi cultivated by the true dragon battle art. However, the dragon-shaped true qi cultivated by the true dragon battle art was more lifelike and lifelike. After observing for a while, Lu Ming withdrew his genuine qi. Brother Lu, how is it? Can you get rid of the yang attribute genuine qi? Mo Ying asked nervously. This was related to her future path of martial arts. Of course she was nervous. Lu Ming nodded and said, it shouldn't be a big problem. The two types of genuine qi are too deeply intertwined. It can't be completely removed in a day or two. I estimate that it will take about 10 days. It's okay. It's worth it no matter how much time it takes. Mo Ying said excitedly. She had endured it for more than 10 years. Why would she care about 10 days? Well, that's good. Take off your clothes, Lu Ming said. Eh? What? Take off my clothes? Emoing nodded subconsciously. When she came to her senses, she let out a deafening scream. Well, I need to directly suppress your blood meridians from your spine. That's the only way to get rid of the yang attribute genuine qi. Lu Ming explained helplessly. Mo Ying's face turned red. After pondering for a while, she gritted her teeth and turned her back to Lu Ming. Then she slowly took off her clothes. Suddenly, a jade-like body appeared in front of Lu Ming. Although it was only her back, the amazing curves were still visible. Lu Ming's heart raced and he almost lost control. Lu Ming desperately looked away. He took a deep breath to calm himself down. Then he stretched out his palm and placed it on Mo Ying's back. When he touched it, it was delicate and smooth. It was as if he was touching a piece of nephrite. Mo Ying's delicate body trembled. She moaned and her body became hot. Even her back turned red. Buzz. At this moment, Mo Ying's back trembled slightly. A strong blood-red light was emitted. Brr. A cloud dragon that was as white as jade emerged and roared at Lu Ming. How dare you? Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. It was only in the shape of a python. However, when the cloud dragon saw the 9 dragons' bloodline, it seemed to be terrified. It wailed and sank into Mo Ying's back. It did not dare to move. Devour. Lu Ming's palm exuded a powerful devouring force. He pressed it against Mo Ying's back and the devouring force gushed out. The yang-type true qi in Mo Ying's genuine qi was instantly extracted and refined by Lu Ming. Although it was not very fast, it was very stable. Mo Ying's delicate body trembled slightly. Fine beads of sweat appeared on her smooth back. 2 hours later, Lu Ming stopped. Phew. Mo Ying let out a long breath. Then she carefully observed her genuine qi. She was so excited that her body trembled. It's really been extracted. It's really been extracted. Mo Ying turned around excitedly and looked at Lu Ming with excitement and gratitude. However, Lu Ming's eyes widened and he stared straight at her chest. Mo Ying screamed again. Only then did she realize that she had not put on her clothes yet. She hurriedly put on her clothes. Her pretty face was as red as an apple. Lu Ming coughed awkwardly. If he had not told Mo Ying's servants not to barge in, Mo Ying's servants would have barged in by now. This time, only a part of it has been extracted. It will take another 8 or 9 days. Lu Ming changed the topic. Thank you, Lu Ming. Mo Ying had forgotten her embarrassment. She was extremely excited. The problem that had troubled her for many years was finally going to be solved. Let's continue tomorrow. Lu Ming smiled. I'm okay. Mo Ying nodded cheerfully. In the following days, Lu Ming spent 2 hours every day to help Mo Ying extract the yang qi. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. The yang qi in Mo Ying's body was almost completely extracted. Mo Ying's genuine qi suddenly became several times faster and smoother. She even broke through a realm and reached the 2nd realm of martial arts grandmaster. On the 8th day, just as Lu Ming was extracting the remaining yang qi from Mo Ying, there was a sudden noise and screams outside. Young master, missing is really cultivating. Chapter 324. Get lost. How dare a few lowly ants block the young prince's way? Are you tired of living? An old man with a big belly scolded. With a slap, Mo Ying's servants were sent flying far away and fell to the ground. One side of their faces was swollen and blood was flowing from their mouths. Behind the old man with a big belly, a young man in luxurious clothes with a sinister face walked in. Spare my life, young prince. I'm not lying. Miss Mo Ying is cultivating in seclusion. She told us not to disturb her no matter what. A servant girl in her 20s knelt on the ground and said, trembling, not to disturb her? Who does Mo Ying think she is? It's her blessing that the young prince came to see her personally. What's more important than the young prince? Hurry up and report it. Otherwise I'll kill all of you. The old man with a big belly shouted coldly and looked at the servant girl with a ferocious expression. Young prince, Miss Mo is really... Before the servant girl could continue, the old man with a big belly lost his patience and shouted, You're courting death. Bam. The old man with a big belly slapped the other side of the servant girl's face. The servant girl screamed and flew far away. When she fell to the ground, she was already unconscious. When the other servants saw this, they were trembling in fear. Hurry up and ask your miss to come out. Otherwise, she'll be the next example. The old man with a big belly pointed at the servant girl and said coldly, "Creak." At this moment, Mo Ying's door opened. Lu Ming and Mo Ying walked out of the room. When the young prince saw Lu Ming and Mo Ying walking out of Mo Ying's room together, he was stunned. Then his handsome face was completely distorted. He pointed at Lu Ming and screamed, little bastard, how dare you enter Mo Ying's room? What are the two of you doing in there? Damn it. And you little bitch, I'm here to see you. Not only did you stand me up, you even shut yourself in for 7 days and refused to see me. I was wondering why. So it turns out that you're together with this little bastard. I'm going to kill you all. Hey, who are you? Why are you barking like a mad dog? Did you take the wrong medicine? Also, the two of us aren't married yet. We're just hiding in our rooms and doing what we need to do. What does that have to do with you? Lu Ming said indifferently as he glanced sideways at the young prince. The little prince almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ming actually dared to talk to him like that. Did he eat a flood dragon's gallbladder? Also, the little prince really wanted to yell that it was none of his fucking business. Of course, he forced himself to hold back. Brat, do you know who I am? The little prince took a deep breath and said slowly. He reckoned that Lu Ming still didn't know who he was. He wanted to announce his name to scare Lu Ming. At that time he would kill Lu Ming and let him know what regret was. Who are you? What does that have to do with me? Lu Ming said indifferently. You? The little prince was stunned. He took a deep breath to calm himself down and said, listen carefully. I'm the only son of the Jinnan prince, the little prince of the Jinnan prince's residence. Then the little prince looked at Lu Ming proudly, hoping to see fear, panic and fear on Lu Ming's face. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. Lu Ming didn't react at all, as if he had heard the name of a cat or a dog. Lu Ming said indifferently, so you're the son of the Jinnan prince. It turns out that the sons of the Jinnan prince are all idiots. What did you say? You're courting death. You're courting death. The little prince was trembling with anger. He pointed at Lu Ming and kept shouting. Bye-bye. At this time, Mo Ying rushed to the front of the unconscious servant girl and checked her injuries. Then she looked at the little prince angrily and said, Little prince, I was just following my orders. Aren't you too heavy-handed? Heavy-handed? Mo Ying, she's just a lowly servant girl. She doesn't know her place. How dare she make excuses in front of me? I'm disciplining her for you. The little prince gritted his teeth to calm himself down and said coldly. You? Mo Ying's face was livid with anger. What place? You keep calling others lowly. In my opinion, you're just a good-for-nothing who relies on your father's power. Lu Ming said indifferently. How dare you? You lowly ant. How dare you call me a good-for-nothing? You're offending your superiors and committing a heinous crime. No one can save you today. I swear I'm not a man if I don't kill you. The little prince screamed hysterically. Lu Ming dared to call him a good-for-nothing? A lowly ant dared to call him a good-for-nothing. Rebellion. Isn't it? You think you're superior to others. What do you rely on? Power or strength? Lu Ming sneered. I have power and strength. I'm born noble. How can you lowly ants compare to me? The little prince yelled. Is that so? If that's the case, you're just a piece of lowly shit in front of me. Lu Ming said. What? What did you say? Damn it. Kill him. I'm going to grind his bones to dust, skin him and pull out his tendons. The little prince screamed crazily. Die, you little bastard. The pot-bellied old man had been holding back for a long time. At this moment he roared and slapped Lu Ming's face. Although he was fat, he was as fast as lightning. His cultivation had reached the third martial ancestor realm. In an instant he was close to Lu Ming and was about to slap Lu Ming's face. Brother Lu, be careful. Dodge. Mo Ying exclaimed. However, Lu Ming stood there motionlessly. Just as the pot-bellied old man's slap was about to land on Lu Ming's face, Lu Ming kicked out. It was impossible to describe how fast this kick was. When the kick was sent out, it arrived first even though it was launched later. It landed heavily on the round belly of the pot-bellied old man. His stomach had sunken like a rubber ball, and his eyeballs were popping out like a dead fish. With a scream, the pot-bellied old man flew backward like a bloated rubber ball. Whoosh! Lu Ming moved and caught up with the pot-bellied old man in an instant, giving him a slap. Slap. A crisp slap was heard. The pot-bellied old man was sent spinning in the air by Lu Ming's slap and landed heavily on the ground. Boom. A human-shaped pit appeared on the ground. The pot-bellied old man was lying in the pit and twitching non-stop. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. The whole place was silent. Everyone stared blankly at Lu Ming, including Mo Ying. The pot-bellied old man of the third martial ancestor realm was beaten half to death by Lu Ming as if he was an ant. Lu Ming was such a terrifying expert? Previously, although Mo Ying knew that Lu Ming was very powerful, she had originally guessed that Lu Ming should only be slightly stronger than her. However, at this moment she knew that she was wrong. Ridiculously wrong. Lu Ming's strength was far beyond her imagination. Well done. Mo Ying's subordinates roared in their hearts. They were extremely satisfied. Previously, the pot-bellied old man was so arrogant and treated them like ants. Now he was like a dead dog. Little bastard, how dare you hit my man? How dare you? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.